Good morning, everyone. It's Wednesday, January 21st. We'll start our meeting. Clayton, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. See anybody for prayer?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm too sick.
Okay, we'll start with the consent agenda. Is there anything to be changed from the consent agenda?
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
We have public comment. if you
Oh.
want.
Oh, darn you. Okay.
Oh, is there any public comment to start? Saving it for the end? Anybody online? Okay, now we will move on to the consent agenda.
Okay, I make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I second.
I want to make one discussion thing.
Can I ask for discussion first?
Okay, yes.
Any discussion?
Okay, I was afraid you weren't going to ask. I want to make a comment on that. We have an administrative assistant who is sitting right here who has worked very hard to get us current on our minutes, which is very appreciated. I remember back before I was a commissioner, I would try to look for minutes and they would be a year in the past. So I just want to call that out. I'm not going to say maybe that Brianna can keep it up every time, but she's doing a darn good job right now. So I just want to compliment her on that.
I agree.
Thank you.
All right, any more discussion?
That's it. I'm done.
All those in favor?
Burnrick, aye.
Barney, I.
Crawford, aye. Okay, you're up, Sheriff. Time to start swearing. Man.
Thanks for being here. This morning we have a new corrections deputy swearing, and I'm gonna have him come on up, Kyle. I got something to say about you. Okay. All right. Yep. Okay. So, corrections deputy Kyle McGrath, joined the Crook County Sheriff's Office in December of 2025, actually right before Christmas. Bringing with him prior correction experience from the Owano County Sheriff's Office in Northeast Wisconsin. They determined that by the tax test. During his time there, Kyle served as both a jail training officer and a temporary officer in charge, gaining valuable leadership and training experience. Kyle was born and raised in Northeast Wisconsin and recently made the move to Central Oregon with his girlfriend Cassie. Outside of work, Kyle and Cassie enjoy staying active and spending time outdoors, especially mountain biking, running, camping, and exploring everything Central Oregon has to offer. Kyle is grateful for the opportunity to serve the Crook County Sheriff's Office and is looking forward to continuing to build his career here by serving the community in a positive and professional manner. Kyle represents the values of integrity, honor, service, and justice. We're excited to officially welcome him to our team. Yeah. So you may have heard this before. We did, when Kyle come on in December, in order to make him official, we had to do a swearing in at that time. So we did an official swearing in over at the jail. And this is the ceremonial one, because we like to do it in front of the public so that you can see who your employees are. So today, that's what we're doing. So this sounds repetitive, but we're going to do it again. Okay. I, John Coffey, Sheriff of Crook County, Oregon, do hereby appoint and constitute Kyle McGrath as the Corrections Deputy Sheriff for the Crook County Sheriff's Office in and for the County of Crook County, Oregon, to do and perform those acts required of this discipline. Shall not perform as sheriff. This appointment to be and remain in full force and effect during my pleasure. Thank you. I state your name.
I, Kyle McGrath,
Do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Oregon,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Oregon,
the laws and ordinances of the county of Crook,
the laws and ordinances of the county of Crook,
and the rules and regulations of the Crook County Sheriff's Office.
and the rules and regulations of the Crook County Sheriff's Office,
That I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties of the office which I have been appointed
discharge the duties of the office to which I have been appointed,
in and for the county of Crook,
in and for the county of Crook,
according to law,
according to law
to the best of my ability.
and to the best of my
So
ability,
help me God.
so help me God.
In the jail, we don't give them metal badges because on the back is the great big long pin that can be used as a weapon. But we do this as a ceremonial thing, so you can have it pinned on your pinning ceremony. Do that, Ken?
That's it. Sure. This is my girlfriend, Kat. She was willing to make the move all the way to Central Oregon with me, so. Been a great since.
So here's the other thing we do. When we bring on a new employee, we issue you a challenge coin. And the challenge coin on one side has our badge, says Crook County Sheriff's Office. The other side has a copy of our patch that says honor, service, and justice, and above all, integrity. We ask the employees to carry this with them all the time. So that if someone challenges you, you have yours. If you don't have it, you have to buy a lunch. And if you do have it, then they have to buy you lunch.
Yeah.
Okay?
Sounds good.
So I say I issue it to you because as long as you're here, this is yours. As long as you stay here for 30 years, then you can, follow these rules. and
Yeah.
take it with you. Okay? All right?
Sounds good. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Under Sheriff Bill Elliott with the presentation.
Since it is January and regular session, we will do the yearly stats from last year.
Just because I gave you a compliment now doesn't mean you gotta be slow on the job.
So for year end 2025, the sheriff's office took, and again, the top portion is reports written, so it will be different than cases taken. But we wrote 321 person crimes reports, which is down by 1 from 2024. Property crimes, 304 reports, which is down from 366. Community crimes and problems, 1,548 reports last year. So a little bit of an uptick in the community crimes and problems. Sex crimes was 151 reports written, a little bit of an increase there. Mental health, POH's police officer holds, we took 39 reports, so we're down by 1. Not too much of a difference there. So overall, the sheriff's office wrote 2,363 reports last year. as opposed to 2,261 in 2024. The next section is sheriff's office only arrests. We arrested 73 felonies, 235 misdemeanors, 3 juvenile felonies, 9 misdemeanor juveniles, and then all other was 8. So we made 328 arrests, which is down 33% from 437 arrests from 2024. Jail stats. Now, jail stats is a little bit different because jail stats is going to be total bookings. So that includes sheriff's office, crime book, and OSP. 1,088 bookings last year, down from 1,145 with about a 5% decrease. 861 of those were male, 227 were female. The jail booked in 225 DUIs last year, which is about a 5% increase from 212. The one I kind of want to look at here is assault. 243 assaultive arrests last year, which is a 23% increase over 187. I would say that's just kind of, I think Measure 110 had something to do with that. I think that the assaultive arrests are just high because of the state of mental illness and those types of things. Failed to report a sex offender, we were down, which is good. We had 12 arrests for failed to report as a sex offender. Jail use of force stayed about the same with 36 use of force incidents. Suicide attempts were significantly down. We only had 1 suicide attempt last year. The suicide watches were down just a little bit too, with 21 of those. The jail's pretty aggressive on the suicide watches. If somebody mentions it or does something or just behaves in a way that the jail believes that that's a possibility, they will take immediate action and put them on suicide watch. For the other calls for service, total was just short of 16,000 calls for service last year. It's a little bit down from 2024 by 5%. And that was with 12 deputies on the road to handle all 16,000 of those calls for service. Self-initiated calls for service are down. I think that's because staffing levels aren't what they were a year ago, with 7,200 self-initiated calls for service, 7,259. Cases taken, so 1,163 cases taken. If you go back up, 2,300 reports written versus 1,100 cases taken, that just equates to supplemental reports and time on the call, the follow-up, maybe additional deputies. Yesterday, I know the guys were out and had a felony juvenile arrest, and there were 2 guys there because of the nature of the call, and both guys did report. So that's where that number comes from. Justice Center stats, we don't have anything to compare. We didn't start the actual Justice Center stats until I think it was November, December of last year. So we don't have, well, we moved in October. So, and then we didn't actually start this format until like November, December timeframe. So we don't have any 2024 stats for the Justice Center, but we scanned in 37,000 people into the Justice Center last year. That's more people live in the county. So it's a lot of people that Jeremy has to deal with going through the door. 815 knives were turned away, 37 pepper sprays, 3 tasers, and 8 firearms were turned away from the security checkpoint. And then again, the flag security cases, I know commissioners, you guys are apprised of this because I'm here every month, but for the folks in the audience, flag security cases, there's 81 cases. So those are the cases that the court is going to look at the case, and then they're going to basically notify Jeremy and ask for additional assistance on those cases. The thing that I'd like to point out here, though, is that the incidents that required an additional deputy was 94. 94 is higher than 81. So the court didn't catch all of those incidents, and then our guys had to respond 94 times to the courtroom. And those are patrol guys, myself, or the lieutenants that have to respond to those additional incidents. But 37,000 folks were screened into the Justice Center last year.
It's quite a few people. I mean, it kind of goes to show you how security is very important and
Yes.
what this facility is providing for not only the employees and staff, but the citizens.
Any questions?
Well, you also talked about, Bill, when we talked about like basically 16,000 thing and you only have 12 employees, how many cases per person that was and how that was above the national average. Could you kind of expound for everyone on that? I was impressed.
So it's 16,000 calls for service. That number roughly is about 1,350 calls per service per deputy with 12 deputies. And then it was brought to my attention, and I've been diligently trying to find the data behind what was said to me. But the national average is somewhere between 600 and 800 calls per service per year per deputy is kind of where the national average is. I haven't been able to prove that, but that's where the national average is supposedly. And then our guys are taking 1,300, so almost double it is double of what normal officer or deputy would take for a year.
And that just shows how critical our staffing is and how critical our funding is for that. I just wanted to bring that out to the public. Thank you, Bill.
Yeah. Anything else?
Nope. Thanks for all your good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for your reports. Wow, the room's losing here.
You guys weren't all here for the chamber update?
John is.
Okay, Deb, you're up.
Deb Shaw, Springfield Chamber, Andrea Weaver is Laura Springfield. And Andrea may look familiar, she should. Andrea joined us October 1st from the County Parks and Rec. I was lucky enough to steal her from Steve, much to his dismay, and it's been great. So she will report on the Explore side, and thank you. And I will report on the chamber side. We've had a lot of changes, and it's been good. It's been positive, so we're kind of excited. So thank you, Brian. Appreciate it.
He's on your side.
Next slide, please. So this is where we start some of the new titles. I'm now the director of the Commerce and Tourism, which is a new title. Kelsey is Community Relations Coordinator. Sherry is Administrative and Operations Specialist. And just a little addition to the top portion, Chamber is a nonprofit 501c6 organization. I think sometimes people forget that, or they just don't know that portion. Made up of businesses, organizations, and individuals working together to strengthen our community. Guided by a volunteer board of directors, the Chamber supports local businesses, operates the Prineville Visitor Center, and serves as the community's destination marketing organization, or DMO. And then our friend Andrea, our tourism development specialist, also a new title for us. And the tourism is division of the Chamber with an emphasis on growing recreational opportunities and events that benefit tourism and our local economy. And then this is our current board, and we typically go out in March for those that will be rolling off the board for their 3-year term. And we do actually have a vacancy that we're going into 2026 with. So there will be some openings for that. We are required to notify our membership before March 1 of how many board positions there will be available. And at that time, we can have individuals that are in good standing go for those positions. So currently have John Height, Ali Heller, Dave Fields, Brian Carmack, Janae Shores, Brooke Smith, Les Williamson, and Natalie Spry. This is new. The board worked here to kind of restructure. The titles are part of that, but the other part was really making us a combined cohesive operation again. For several years, we had really kind of been working parallel, the Explore Prineville and Chamber, still part of the same function, but in effort to really make that program successful, we had focused onto, I was kind of operations of the Chamber, and Kim was solely focusing on Explore Prineville. But, as that has become a successful program, our goal this year is to marry those, for lack of a better term, again, and just continue that process now. So our vision this year is be financially strong and stable organization that is the first choice for living, work, learning, and play in Crook County. We will achieve this by ensuring sufficient lodging, meet staffing needs, and focus on automation to improve efficiency and streamline our processes. I got another typo. So some of this looks familiar, but we have added some events this year that have been quite successful. As you know, we have our every Friday perk. We offer our ribbon cuttings to our members, our after-hour events to our members that are during the winter months. Those are not as well attended, but in the summer, we have a lot of attendance on those. We have professional business and nonprofit social media trainings we did last year. Annual membership awards banquet, which is coming right around the bend here at the end of February. Candy Crawl, Small Business Saturday, a new one that we just started, Breakfast with Santa. And this year, we were happy to serve over 160 community members, and that was all community members. That was not counting our volunteers or staff. So for a first time
Very good.
project, I think that was really exciting to see. So we will be doing it a second year in a row. So that one's fun. We did, of course, the lighted Christmas parade, Stampede Street Party, which was highly attended. We will be working with Visit Central Oregon to find, we have some new technology, I think, that can get us some new numbers of really perhaps what that function brings in, which we've never been able to do. And that's pretty exciting. Andrea can visit a little more about that. But and then our annual golf tournament, which was in May last year and will be in May again this year. That was a great success for us as well. We were able to provide over $3,000 to a local nonprofit, which is our goal, to continue to be able to give back to the community with that, the generous fund from others that are helping us with that. So it's kind of all, again, that full circle, right? We currently have 300 total members. And then as we look at the benefits, there is, next slide, please. Sorry, thank you. No, you're fine. I'm sorry. There is the standards that you've been seeing for several years in a row, but I want to touch on some of the new we've added. So with the remodel that completed, we added a large monitor in our lobby, and our members can now advertise on that monitor with their logo, with their tag, whatever they feel is what they want to say. They can advertise that, and we can run it ongoing with verbiage or just, verbal, or just, their photos. Or if you are a non-member, it can be a small fee of, we haven't decided on the small fee yet, but non-members can also advertise on that. Also this year, we are offering the LED sign advertising for our members. Currently, we've been using it just to put our things on there, like what's going on for community events and things like that. But we are going to offer that to our members as another member benefit for their functions and for their advertising. And I think that that's just another way to get out what you're doing and represent you and your logo. And with the new LED sign, there is more opportunities to add those logos. It's pretty cool if you haven't seen it. It does a lot more than our old one did. So, and then just as a reminder, I think this is one of the most underutilized, but one of the most important benefits is that social media sharing of your business. I can't say this enough. We currently say 3 times monthly. So if you are a business and you have something you're promoting, or if you're just doing something, you're just checking in on your Facebook page or Instagram or whatever that may be, your social media of choice, give us a call, text us, say, hey, I just posted this. Would you share it for me? Absolutely, we will share it for you. And you get 3 of those a month. And we're talking about upping that because I feel like, why not as a member? Why shouldn't you even have more? Now, I don't think that you're going to see everyone take advantage of that. Not everybody is a social media person, and that's okay. We don't have to be. But that is kind of the next phase. As we all know, reels, those kind of things are really where the exposure's at if your business wants to be out there. So we are really wanting people to utilize that. And I'm here to say, I think that 3 times is changing. So hold me to it. The next thing is more sponsorship events. So always we have lots of sponsorship opportunities. And I think within the last year, we have made that very affordable, from $100 for a raffle basket at our events up to our largest platinum sponsorship of $2,000. So, I mean, we have something for everybody. Never feel like you can't promote at one of the events. I feel like we've made that very affordable, and we want to continue to do that and offer that to our folks. And also new this year, and then you can move for me, Brianna, thank you so much, is our podcasting. Coming this first quarter, we are going to be offering podcasts for our members. Get on there, share about your business. Kelsey's working on going through the equipment today. We bought some at the end of December, and more to come on that, but I think that'll be a fun opportunity for people to have a spotlight, and we'll post those on our website. And I just can't wait for that. I think that's going to be fun. So business assistance, that grant seeking and assistance, one of Kelsey's goals last year was she wanted to learn more about grants and how to not just help us write them, but you know, when we have a member that is looking for something specific and some support, maybe we have the ability to look in some of our areas to support them. So that's kind of our goal over the next year is if you have a deficit you're trying to make up, we want to be able to have the resources to say, hey, I see this coming down the pike in second quarter or whatever. I think this might fit the need that you've contacted us about. So Kelsey is going to be working on some of that knowledge, some of that training, and I think it's going to be really exciting. So marketing and social media assistance, partnering again, always with our local businesses and organizations. The social media business workshop we did with Meta was very successful. It was very beneficial for us. If you didn't take part in that, boy, you missed a benefit. It was amazing. Capital Grants Program in 26. This is really exciting. So this, if you've been with us a few years and kind of been following us, a couple years ago, we offered a capital grants program. And it was, I think, beautification. So we are going to expand that this year, and the application is in final stages here. I will be putting out this first quarter opportunities for our businesses to, one, put in for business beautification, marketing with education grant, a community project. And I feel like, again, that is that full circle support to our community, where what we should be doing. Again, we're a 501c6. We get money from our members and our dollars that we receive we share those dollars back into our community. That's part of it. So excited about that, excited to be sharing that. It's not a huge dollar amount, but it is enough, I think, that will be beneficial to folks. So we're pretty excited about that. These are kind of some of the places that we advertised this last year. Central Oregon Visitors Guide, the 1859 magazine, Cascade Business News. We did some paid influencer campaigns, radio and newspaper marketing, and local large event advertising. Great, you're on, my dear.
Okay, so as Deb stated earlier, Explore Prineville, the Prineville Chamber is the local DMO, the destination management organization for our area. We do work closely with Visit Central Oregon, which is the regional DMO for our area. And so by being the DMO, we market Crook County as a rural small town, rich in history, culture, while also showcasing the area's outstanding recreation, retail, restaurants, and the abundance of distinctive local activities and events. Our organization is dedicated rather to promoting the Prineville Crook County community as an attractive travel destination, working to draw new businesses, visitors, and customers to the area. So we will do that by growing our reach through established programs and events, and network and foster relationships with local, regional, state partners, and then use influencers, as Deb stated, for marketing resources to promote exploration of our area. Some of the one major accomplishment for Explore is the Verticat. If you haven't heard or seen this piece of equipment, it's over at the Meadow Lakes Golf Course, and this makes wheelchair users gives them full access to be able to golf over at Meadow Lakes. And this is this slide says 1 of 2 statewide. Right. I cannot find another listing for this specific piece of equipment in the state. So that's just a really big value that we have here. And if you ask Zach, it is rented and secured quite frequently, and it was booked all summer. So just another kind of a little sweet spot, and one thing that we offer that even Deschutes County doesn't.
I live across the river from Meadow Lakes, and I just want you to know how much I see that and how much it seems that I can't tell you, but they look like they are really enjoying that they're out there with nature, and I'm extremely impressed at what you did for the community with that. Extremely impressed.
Wonderful partnership with several organizations, including the City of Prineville, Meadow Lakes, and Andrea and I had an opportunity, just to add on to that very quickly, to attend the Travelability conference, and we learned so much about destinations not having enough for individuals that have different mobility issues, but they weren't just mobility issues, right? They were sensory issues, they were vision, they were hearing, so many different things that I think we take for granted every day, and we don't even thinking about being an issue. And we have just it really opened our hearts and our minds and moved us to want to do more. We have so many wonderful things in our area that are so beautiful and so lovely, and we've also recently discovered that she'll touch on it later in the slide, but the average income for the visitation in our area is like $50,000 for the home, right? So I think that continuing to try to offer those types of exploration, I think we are it. I can't imagine being a better destination for that, right? The things that we can do here for free and offer people. We're just so lucky. We have no idea. And being able to tie some of those things together for people that have issues and making that affordable. We have some really fun ideas that I just can't wait to share with you when they come to fruition. So
Perfect.
Great. So these are just some social media stats for the chamber. I'll just kind of touch on this. This number grows for the Facebook followers, and that's again really important while for nonprofits and the businesses in our area to utilize our Facebook page. We just see a lot more traction. Our lives have become really popular. Our Friday perks And then any of the reels that Kelsey does for, so this is really, so we're really, really grateful for that. And then the next slide is just, some social media stats for Explore. As we're still growing in followers, on those social media platforms and increasing our newsletter subscribers. So if you aren't a subscriber and you want to subscribe to the newsletter, just go to exploreprineville.com. Get a window that'll pop up and then just enter your email, and that's a monthly newsletter that goes out, and it just touches on things to do in the area in upcoming events. So we just kind of promote those as often as we can. So as Deb mentioned earlier, we partner really closely with Visit Central Oregon, and they have a lot of access to resources that we do not have the funding to access. And they work closely with a company called Datify. And so I can't remember, Katie over there was able to kind of give me a report based on visitor travel here to Prineville specifically with the dates listed above. So this is just kind of some general stats of the visitor days that people are staying, how many trips, and then the average length of those stays. And then the demographics, like Deb kind of touched on earlier, were kind of really interesting to me. So the average age of the travelers are 45 to 64, with an average income of under 50,000. And they're typically 1 to 2 member households. So that could reflect a lot of different things. Cycling, we know we've got a couple great cycle routes here in our area. They park at the chamber, they kind of jet out for a few days, they come back. So as we move into marketing, that is just a continued demographic that we will hit. And then very close second was the 3 to 4 family size with the same income, with a little bit younger of a population. So if you guys have any questions on that, just reach out and I can touch more on that later.
It really allows us to target certain demographics and be able to grow that for us. So I think it's amazing.
So the TRT income for the 24-25 year was $290,043, which was a 3% increase from the year before, and which is kind of interesting when you think about that the lodging hasn't increased here. The lodging assets are still the same. So for that number to continually just slowly, steadily rise over the years is really great. And we're encouraged by that. So this below just kind of states on the Oregon statute for the TL or the TRT income shall be used for promotion, tourism and tourism related facilities. And then just kind of goes into a little bit detail on that below. And then I did want to kind of touch on the marketing piece of that. And so with my current position, one of my goals is to market Prineville as a 4-season destination. It's affordable to come here, it's free to recreate, and like 80% of the things that we offer. So it's just paying to stay the night or taking a day trip with your family. It is very affordable. Rock hounding is very popular. The guide is $10. Pack a lunch, get out of the city, and come see us. And so I'm really hitting that 4-season destination travel. We want people to come here in the off season and utilize our blue skies and sunshine. So some new strategic goals that were formed this summer. Fostering regional prosperity. We will work to enhance regional prosperity through strategic promotion of both community engagement and tourism while proving its support to local businesses. Marketing and branding, we will adopt the market. Deb stated earlier, be your first choice for living, work, learning, and play to attract, retain residents and visitors. And then again, touching on the comprehensive data collection, partnering with Visit Central Oregon, we will implement and expand data collection across all our association's activities to inform strategic decisions and measure our impact. Any questions?
Great presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, you always do a good presentation. And I wanted, when we're talking about social media, we got a little knocked about our Christmas light display.
Yes.
And I am very prejudiced that I think that the center of all of Prineville sits right across the street over here. So I want to be on the committee because I think we need a little updating over there and we need to sparkle a little bit more. And maybe that will will go out on both sections and help us. So please let me know.
I think I have some really fun ideas
Perfect.
to put some seed money and for some really fun things for other businesses to help us. We can't implement that or carry out those items, but I think with some of the grant money that we have, I think we can set aside a little bit of the grant money for our own beautification of our own community. And we be the benefactor of that. And I think that those lights is absolutely the right place to put that little bit of seed money and just watch it grow over the next few months. And you'll be hearing more.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, we got a ways to go, but we need to sparkle. Okay, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
guys for having us.
Great job. Gail? Or Casey?
Casey, you should make Gail get up there with you.
I mean, it technically
Yeah,
says you're the
come
presenter,
on,
Gail.
Gail. You got
You better come up here.
Good morning, Commissioners. Casey Daly and Gail Merritt from the Crook County Fairgrounds. We're here this morning to ask that you consider the appointment of Linda Smith for position 2 and the reappointment of Mike Casperger for position 3. Both these folks were nominated and unanimously voted on in the January Fair Board meeting. So we're going to present these for your consideration.
Yeah, it's good to me.
I think you did a wonderful job. And also, Gail was reelected as the chairperson of the Fair Board, also at that. And Mike Casperger, once his appointment is, I guess, formalized, will be your vice chair.
Correct.
So yes, I wanted to bring that out. So I make a motion to the Board of Commissioners to recommend Mike Casperger and Linda Smith to the Crook County Fair Board.
And I'll just add order 2026-03.
Oh, well, okay, Brian made it formal. I didn't even get down to that part. You're right. Perfect.
So I will second that.
And I will amend my motion. So there we go.
And I'll second your amendment.
Perfect.
Any discussion?
I think we've discussed it as much as we can.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Herman,
Barney,
aye.
aye.
Crawford, aye. Okay, well, that was quick and easy.
Thank you.
Thank you, both of you, for all you do.
Still got another one.
Yep, you're
Yeah.
sitting there. Sorry.
So my second item is ask the commissioners to consider the emergency repairs of our indoor arena bathrooms. As many of you know, the indoor arena bathrooms have come to the end of their serviceable life. It's starting to show rather glaringly at our larger events. We have experienced water on the floor, and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
And leave it to your imagination. But they do need dire help in getting back to shape. We have identified money out of our $2 million grant to make this happen. We did apply for a travel Oregon grant. We were not chosen. I think they're probably looking for a little sexier projects than some bathrooms, but nevertheless, we need to have these functional. Marshall Bex has come in and looked. Oh, I'm sorry. Marshall Bex has come in and taken a look at the restrooms along with Lou's Plumbing. And then we did call Blaine Nolan and haven't heard a response back from them. The estimate is a rough estimate between $200,000 and $250,000, which we do have in our grant money. We'll add that this will probably get close to the depletion of that $2 million grant, which is unfortunate because we've done a lot with it and there's still a lot more to do. So with that, I would just ask that you would consider these emergency repairs so we can get started. Our our spring season is about to start taking place, and these restrooms are heavily used for the indoor arena. Hospice auction, our annual junior livestock sale. I know Commissioner Hemrick was there and a few other folks, and made comments about the conditions of the restrooms. So they haven't really been touched since the 80s and 90s. Once again, at the end of their serviceable life, the gentleman that comes in and does our repairs on our restroom plumbing fixtures just says he can't keep them running. We're that. So with that, I will just ask for your consideration.
Well, it's certainly, I am for it because this is basically just a sanitation and health emergency. And at hospice, I made a special trip in there and I was scared and went rapidly right back out. And I know, Casey, I know during the livestock auction, I went in several times. You sent a cleaning team in. We tried to get this going and it's just, we need repairs and we need them today, right now. So I am in favor of order and resolution number 2026-04, which is authorizing the emergency procurement of repair and renovation services for the fairgrounds restrooms, plumbing, and related fixtures.
I second.
Any discussion?
No,
All those in favor?
Hemrick, aye.
Crawford, aye.
Very good, Casey.
Thank you.
It's needed for a very long
Yeah, it's
time.
been rough in there
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
quite a while.
Thank you for your.
All women of Crook County will definitely thank you for this. I don't know, I've never been to the men's side, but
So will the
we are
men.
for it. Okay.
All right, Will.
Good morning, Commissioners. Will Van Vactor, County Manager. We're here to discuss, at the request of Commissioner Crawford, a potential temporary interim adjustment to how we administer public records requests. As you're aware, we are working on a full update to our records request policy and plan to roll that draft out early this calendar year. The objective today is to discuss that interim structure, confirm any edits to the proposed order that's included in your packet, and determine whether the board wishes to adopt the interim order today. I want to apologize. My schedule has not afforded me the opportunity to prepare that proposed order until early this morning, and I appreciate Brianna helping me get that uploaded before the meeting today. So I hope you've had a chance to look through it. It's intentionally relatively brief because we know, as I noted a minute ago, we were working on a full update to the policy. Just some quick background. Our current policy is stated in Order 2017-80. This was adopted in December of 2017. Also, worth noting, the current policy puts a lot of the impetus on County Council and the legal department. We were going through transition in the legal department and have one attorney in that office at this time. So this is an opportunity to ensure that County Council is able to focus on those critical legal services while also taking a step towards bringing our practices into line with common practices seen throughout the state. Just in short, the proposed changes designate the county manager as the interim records custodian with authority to name a designee. The proposed order shifts day-to-day administrative processing of requests from legal to administration. So administration would be receiving, acknowledging, coordinating, processing, and responding to public records requests. County Council would still be available upon request to provide legal advice and exemption guidance. The legal would not be responsible for the daily administration of public records during this interim period until the new policy is adopted. This duration, it's temporary. The order is written so that it is effective during this interim period and will be replaced at the time that the new policy is adopted. Just a couple notes on what does not change. Public access rights under Oregon's public records law. Public remains completely entitled to public records as law makes clear. all the statutory timelines, fee practices, standards still apply, and departments will still assist in locating and providing relevant records when we get those requests. So again, just some potential benefits from making this change. It aligns with common practice, where administration leads the administrative portion of responding to public records requests. Allows county counsel's office to focus on core legal work. And it's a relatively limited time period in which this temporary order will be in place and is reversible either upon board action or when the new policy is adopted. Just to kind of give a full picture, one potential downside is it will create additional workload. And there will be a little bit of a learning curve for the administration team, although we've been involved in public records requests recently. And we'll have to work with our departments and the organization to update them on the workflow adjustments if this were to be implemented. So with that, I'm happy to
Yeah,
open.
thank you, Will. Yeah, I think this is something we've been talking about for quite a while in public meetings and having discussions, and I think this is the right track. I know Eric's got a lot on his plate, and we want to make sure he's able to focus on the things that we need him to do. And like you said, we found from multiple areas that this is done in the administration from OGAC as well as other sources. So I think it's a good time to change. Sorry. Can everybody hear me? And so I appreciate you putting this ordinance together, and I think we need to make this change and then continue to look at our policy to ensure that we have as much transparency as possible for the citizens of Crook County. Going to entertain a motion? Or do you guys have any more discussion?
Yeah.
No, I think this is the legal and best way to go about that. Not sure has Eric had opportunity to review the order, and is it something I think there's a responsibility with legal counsel, and this was of some concern, and I think this process eliminates that concern. But I'll let Eric speak for himself.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. This is working. So as you know, there was a special meeting that was scheduled for yesterday morning that was canceled. I've been out of the office on Friday and Monday, so I'm a little flat-footed. I have drafted a quick and dirty memo, which I think will have a number of different questions, which I think would be helpful to get resolved. It looks like some of these questions would be answered by the memo that was added to the packet this morning, but not all of them. So I'd like to hand this out, and then I think it'd be helpful to go through them and just establish who does what. That will help the public, and that will certainly help the staff members. So.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eric.
So again, some of these questions do look like they were addressed in the draft temporary order, but not all of them. So I might suggest we just go through, starting on page 2. You'll see that there are a number of different questions. I think it will not take too long to go through this. Bearing in mind, there are probably no perfect way to solve these questions. Every single answer is going to have some trade-off. And so it is simply up for the county to determine what trade-offs it's willing to accept. So just the first is who at the county receives the records requests?
Administratively.
Okay. And who reviews and sends the notifications to the county personnel to preserve the potentially responsive records?
Administration.
Um, who determines whether clarification on the request is needed?
Administration, and I think that includes being able to farm that out to different people. I mean, I don't think it's solely on Will. And Will, feel free to weigh in on this.
Yeah, and I don't think it's gonna totally 100% eliminate you yourself either, but this gives us opportunities to reach out.
Yeah, I would envision the designated public records custodian would make the initial review of whether the request is certain enough, and if there are questions about, could be follow up with county council and or working with department heads that may have relevant records to make sure we understand fully what is being asked.
So then I take the answer to number 4 to be the same as number 3. Sending the statutory acknowledgement letter, still admin.
Yeah.
Okay. I think number 6 is probably a duplicate of number 2, so let's ignore that. Correct contact within the departments, also admin. Who determines whether there will be a compilation fee deposit and the amount of the deposit?
Administrate. Everything is just switching to the administration.
Okay.
And the basic reason for this was your shingle is tied to it under the policy and is to ensure you that there's no repercussions that come back to you for making this move.
So on that, I guess I would like to suggest there are some of these which may not fall squarely within admin. So just as an example, 23, if there's an appeal to the DA or the circuit court, who advises the county and thereafter responds? Now that could be admin, I should say. It doesn't have to be. And I think it'd be helpful to get an answer to that question now rather than have to figure it out.
Smart.
As we go through.
I think it would be admin with the breadth of the ability for them to call in other help, including yourself or outside counsel or whatever they see is fit for that. Because I agree that there's definitely legal ease when it comes to records requests. But like we talked about earlier, this is something that I think almost every other county in the state is under the admin, and then they are able to reach out to other departments for help to be able to disseminate that information.
So I think some of these questions, especially on the last page, will be helpful. So if the order is adopted, who processes the records requests we have right now that are not yet finished?
I think it would all move to admin.
Okay.
Is that how you envision it, Will?
Yeah, I mean, if there's any very, close to being wrapped up, maybe Eric, you and I could just connect and I don't know what exactly is pending at this point. But yeah, I would envision most of them would move over to admin.
And ORS 565, 750 requests. Those are not technically public records requests, but nevertheless, we process them as public records requests.
I don't see that request.
Number 27.
Oh, there's a third page. You want to tell us more about?
Yeah, so that is
565?
a statute that permits employees to request certain documents related to their employment. And in some cases, those requests are quite modest, and in some cases, the requests can be quite burdensome, like for instance, asking for 10 years of wage and hour records. Now, all those things can be compiled, but it takes time to compile them. So they're not technically within chapter 192, which is the chapter on public records requests. But nevertheless, again, the county has sort of processed them in the same manner as public records requests. So if there is going to be a difference in that processing, this might be an opportune time to talk about it.
What are your thoughts, Will?
Well, I think what the proposed order contemplates is just an update to the public records policy under ORS 192. So I'm having trouble finding the statute right now, but I would recommend we continue to have those processed through county counsel's office for the time being. And if we need to, Eric and I can coordinate, and as we're putting together the complete records policy, if you want to loop that into that policy, we can do so at that time. But that's not really what the proposed order.
Perfect.
So 28, ensuring compliance with ORS 181A 674. That is a statute that is triggered if certain requests are made under Chapter 192. And it may involve, for instance, contacting unions, individual employees, or other personnel.
Well, I think if it's under the public records or us, then it would go to administration.
Okay.
And then they would be able to farm that out as needed.
29 tracks public records laws and ensures compliance with county processes. Part of the reason I asked that is it looks like currently under section 12 of the existing order that work is assigned. Under the temporary order, there's a section here that talks about any other provision of the order that assigns primary records administrative duties to council is reassigned. I don't know if when that was drafted that contemplated that aspect. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but this might be a good time to clarify.
My recommendation would be that county council tracks changes to public records law and advises on those changes. But that the public records custodian would be responsible for ensuring that those processes are in place, ensure legal.
Yeah, I agree.
Makes sense.
And then 30, who contacts third parties in the event that the records are requested contain information that the county is contractually obligated itself to notify those third parties before there's a disclosure.
I would say the administration.
Okay.
Great. Did that help clarify?
Yeah. Again, there's probably no right or wrong answer to these. All of them involve trade-offs. It's a trade-off that the county is willing to make. It is helpful to have that documented in part because there's a statute, as you know, that requires a written policy as to how it needs to process these. So having a written policy is going to be necessary.
Right.
Yeah. And you're still legal counsel, so there's going to be times that people are going to reach out to you, meaning the administration, for advice, help, whatever. It's still on the job description and things to do. Right?
Yeah, so as I understand it, I mean, again, the stated goal is part take some of the current workload from our office and reallocate it. I mean, the advantage of that is we're not doing it anymore. The disadvantage is the same work is being done, so it's not reducing the amount of work. So if there is a question that we get asked, we're happy to answer that. Otherwise, I think then, unless there are any of these other questions which should be sent to someone else. Again, I think it's helpful to have that on the record so everyone knows who does what when.
Yeah.
Deanna, were you able to add an order number? That So
Dash 117.
No, dash 06, isn't it? Okay, that's the one I have.
06.
I do want to commend you, Eric, for coming up with these thoughtful questions and putting a lot of thought and a quick
Yeah, I
time
really
period.
appreciate
Thank you
it.
very, very much. And I think there's going to be some fine tuning that's going to have to go about with this. And I think we've come a long ways with our public records. We still have ways to go, but I want to thank you again for your questions and delving into this. And so I will make a motion to approve the temporary modification to Crook County Public Records Request Policy pending formal policy update, order number 2026-06.
I second.
Any discussion?
I have a question. I think there's one scrivener's error. The date on the order is 2025 instead of 2026. And the order in the packet says draft. So I just want to clarify that we clean those two issues up before you guys sign.
I will accept those couple of errors in my amendment.
Yeah, that's agreed. Second.
Any more discussion?
I just want to thank Eric for the good work that he does, and we'll appreciate him. And I understand the reason why this order needed to be for his benefit a lot. And but thanks, Eric. Do a good job.
Yeah, thank you, Eric, especially the questions today. I think that was really good to clarify.
So all the discussion.
All those in favor?
Rick, I.
Barney, I.
Crawford, aye. Okay. Susie, you're up again.
Okay, so if last Wednesday at our work session, we had Melissa Thompson, who represents Best Care, and has been brought to our attention that Pacific Source is going to cut, I want to say 17%, but I'm not so concerned about the percentage, but the amount of money to our mental health programming will be cut by $500,000. That will severely impact our mental health program. I'd like to say mental health is decreasing in Oregon, but it isn't. It's increasing. So one of the things that we had as Board of Commissioners is we wanted to write a letter of support to keep our funding up, because what happens is as our funding decreases and our services decreases, you're going to see more mental health in the jail, and you're going to see more mental health things happening in the emergency room, which is not the place to deal with these crises. And one of the things she even brought up is we have 20 individuals in Crook County who are severely mentally health impaired and need daily intervention, and that would affect them. So this is a very critical thing for our county that we keep this funding. So this is a letter of support. I've sent it right now to the Pacific Source people. Later, we may go ahead and address Oregon Health Authority. I've also CC'd it to Todd Shields at Prineville St. Charles, because obviously he's going to have an impact to his emergency room, and I'd like him to sign on. I was hoping John Gottney, our sheriff, would stay. I've also CC'd it to John because it's going to be tough in our jails, and I think we will see an increase in our statistics. And who else did we see? Oh, and also to the Jefferson Board of Commissioners, because they are also adversely affected. I want to say we're 17% and they're 13%. 14%. Okay. Anyway, so I wanted them to be aware that we're fighting for our funding and they need to step up and fight too. So I would like a motion for us to send this letter of support for our community mental health program funding.
I make a motion to send the January 21st, 2026 letter to Pacific Source, letter of support for the CHMP funding.
I will second that motion.
Any discussion? I think it's super important. We already have a lot of people in our jail that don't deserve to be there. They should be in mental health facilities. And I blame it squarely on the shoulders of the state of Oregon for shutting down state hospitals and dumping these people into our communities and not managing look at Portland, look at the bigger cities. It's just rampant. And so I think this is a step to fix it, but I think the state is
ultimately,
it's
yes.
just disgusting how they treat people.
Yes.
But I think this is something we can do locally to help those people.
Okay.
I agree.
All those in favor?
Hardwick, aye.
Crawford, aye. Okay. Looking like the main event here. Maybe we should have something like this at the end of every meeting so you guys can come see what our business is.
They only want to know and they're gonna come at 10:09, huh?
They might have missed it.
Cover, I think you have a script you
Oh,
can.
yeah, yeah. The Crook County Board of Commissioners convenes today, Wednesday, January 21st, 2026 at 10:09 a.m. to conduct a second of two scheduled public hearings on ordinance 357, amending titles 1, 17, 18, and declaring an emergency. Land use application number 323 planning. This is purely legislative amendment to the Crook County Code. At this time, I'd like to request a motion to read by title only.
So I second the motion.
Any discussion?
Discussion.
All those in favor?
Hardwick, aye.
Barney, aye.
Crawford, aye. So where is that on my phone, the motion, the actual motion? Or do I just read
You
the
just read the title, so it's right there. on the-
public hearings, second reading of ordinance 357 and ordinance amending titles 1, 17, 18, and the Crook County Code and declaring an emergency. Today, the Board of County Commissioners will be considering a recommendation from the Planning Commission to approve the enclosed code amendments. A complete copy of the staff memo and code amendment is available at the county's website for the planning department. The Board of County Commissioners may elect to uphold, modify, or reverse the Planning Commission's recommendations. This is the second of two hearings the board will hold. The first hearing was held January 7th, 2026 at 9 a.m. This hearing will be de novo, which means like new, normal legislative land use procedures will apply. For reference, the applicable approval criteria are as follows. Crook County Code Title 18 Zoning, Chapter 18.168 Legislative Amendments, the Crook County Comprehensive Plan, Oregon Administrative Rules, and Oregon Revised Statutes. This hearing will be conducted pursuant to Crook County Code Chapter 18.168 and 18.172. At this time, I will poll the board regarding conflicts of interest and ex parte communications, including personal knowledge, bias, prejudgment, or personal interest. Susie?
No, none.
Barney, none.
I don't have none. Does anyone have any ex parte communications? Oh, I guess I just did that. Does anyone in the audience or on the phone wish to challenge the participation of any member of the board regarding conflicts of interest, ex parte communication, or prejudgments on this matter? So let's start in the room here. Does anybody want to question? Online, would you please type into the chat box if you would like to claim that we have prejudgment in this matter? Okay. During the hearing, testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed towards applicable approval standards and criteria, or other standards and criteria in the Crook County Land Use Regulations or Comprehensive Plan that the person testifying believes to apply to the decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence with sufficient detail to give the hearing authority and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. The record will open and will remain open until the closing of this hearing. If a party wishes to request the record remain open or the second hearing to be continued, it may make such a request in accordance to Crook County Code 18.172.081. The decision of the Board of County Commissioners may be appealed in accordance with ORS 197 and OAR 661. If your person If you're in person and intend to testify on the limited issue, please make sure to fill out a testimonial slip that staff will provide. And those were at the entrance. Did everybody get an opportunity to grab those? If not, raise your hand and we can bring one. You need one? Yeah. If you're online and wish to testify, please comment in the chat box whether you intend to do so in favor or in opposition of the application. We will then call on you to testify at the appropriate time. You can do that now if you'd like. If you have written testimony that you would like to submit, please hand it to one of our staff members. All persons testifying must be recognized by the board. Please speak clearly and state your name and address for the record. If you are speaking on behalf of someone else or a group, please state who you are representing. The order of testimony will be as follows. First, we'll hear from staff. Then we will take testimony from any federal, state, or local agencies. Then anyone in favor or who is neutral to the ordinance will then be heard. Then we will hear from those in opposition. Does anybody on the phone or in the audience have any questions about the process? How about here? How about on the online? Okay, we'll start by hearing from staff first.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Eisler, Community Development Director. As it's stated, this is the second reading of Ordinance 357. There have been a couple changes to the ordinance as it was first presented. I'll mention the first two are just mere housekeeping. First is the caption. Now it reads, "Before the Board of Commissioners of the State of Oregon for the County of Crook." And then I believe it's at section 2. Used to say near the end of the sentence with additions underlined, and so I just fixed that. It used to say, now it says italicized as it should. So those are non-substantive. The other change is, I believe it was 18.132, the manufactured dwelling provisions. Those have been removed as you guys requested, and so there's been no substance added or changed. We just removed that one provision on manufactured dwellings, and I leave it to County Council to advise whether or not we need to do anything for that change.
Yes. So Commissioners, the reason why we're describing what the changes are from the first reading is there is a provision in chapter 203 of the Oregon Revised Statutes that says that an ordinance adopted after being read by title only may have no legal effect if it differs substantially from the terms as it was thus filed prior to the reading, unless each section incorporating such a difference as finally amended prior to being adopted is read fully and distinctly in open meeting of that body. So John described what the differences are. Some of them really are unsubstantive, but we've generally been erring on the side of caution on that matter. Regarding the removal of a section between the first reading and the second reading, the effect of that removal would mean if this ordinance is adopted, that section of the existing code is not changed. So the manufactured dwelling section of our existing code is just going to continue regardless of whether or not this is adopted or not. My feeling is under this section of 203.045, that's simply saying that it has been removed is adequate. But I suppose what we might do is just ask online and in the room if anyone feels that it is necessary to read everything that has been deleted from the first reading to the second reading. And if nobody feels that we have to read that section, which would not be approved even if this ordinance is adopted, then I think we will have established on the record that it's been read fully and completely.
Does anybody here want us to go read through all that to see what's been removed from the last reading?
For the manufactured dwelling section.
For the manufactured dwelling section.
And I don't see anyone.
Anybody online that would like us to read through the manufactured dwelling section that's been removed? Again, that means that it will not be approved. So it's not, it would be something that's been removed, not something that we're adding in to approve. Just to clarify. Okay, I don't, doesn't see like anybody here. Okay,
Keep going. Thank you, Mr. Blaine. If I may step out of my lane a bit, I want to echo your comments earlier and thank Mr. Blaine for the work that he does for Crook County. Very much appreciated. So I'm going to go ahead and get to the substance here. I'm going to scroll through Exhibit A. We're going to go through in order as far as what the changes are. So if you guys can go along with me, I'm on page 3 of the PDF. First change is in Title 1. This is regarding general penalties for violation of county ordinance. The changes here just recognize that many of our county ordinances no longer go to the circuit court to get compliance, and so it does not make sense for the fees collected to then pass through the circuit court. And so basically says fines recovered may go to the circuit court or such specific fund is designated for this purpose. I'm just going to keep reading through this unless you guys have any questions or comments. I'm just going to keep going. There's a kind of a good amount on here.
Just tell us where you are when you're reading them, please.
I will. Okay, so now I'm on page 4. This is Title 17 regarding our subdivision review committee. We've removed the recommendations of the subdivision review committee going to the planning commission, as the planning commission is a decision-making body that makes these subdivision review committees subject to public meetings law. We have one of those coming up today for Hayden Canyon. Central Oregon Daily News got our notification, and they ran an article about it, which is no issues with transparency, but these aren't meetings that the public really is there to comment on. It's for these designated agency officials to work with the developer. And so now those recommendations go to me as community development director, and those will be incorporated in the staff report, and my recommendation will be brought to the planning commission. And I think the only changes here at the end, adding on protective covenants or deed restrictions. So the new language that has been in there, the new language says including but not limited to defensible space standards, fire sprinklers, or secondary access for fire standards. These are not our code provisions, and these are not mandatory. These are things that fire marshal has to implement. And I think the things like with fire sprinklers are in lieu of having to put in such features as I'm drawing a blank.
Underground pressurized fire hydrants.
Yeah, fire hydrants. Thank you, Commissioner.
and so that's coming from the fire department, but is that a state law that they're required to follow, or is that something that they decide they want or not?
My understanding is it's state law, but I don't want to speak for Russ to boot. I don't think he's here. So again, these are mandatory. It's it's part of the subdivision review committee, and they say they're going to be required, or this would be another avenue. That's when they go in, and it goes into either deed restrictions or covenants. Next page, page 7, land partitioning. This removes the prohibition on dwellings or other structures being involved in the adjustment. We've had applications recently where it's common ownership on both sides of the boundary line, and there's some type of accessory structure in the way. And I don't see any reason that should be prevented from doing the boundary line adjustment. We've also had ones where there's a dwelling directly over the property line. And according to this code, you can't fix that. So this just cleans that part up, but it makes sure that all existing structures must still meet dimensional standard and setback requirements. Next page, page 8, 18124 supplementary provisions. This is about ADUs. This is to, I think, just remove the ambiguity there in sub 2, sub B, sub 12 about adequate access. And then removes, I think, the dual notice that Russ was getting noticed twice on these. So it removes that language. And it recognizes that the fire maps were not adopted by the state. Page 12, 18116.045. Exclusive farm use zones. Again, this is just updating our code to reflect what is current state law regarding alteration, restoration, or replacement of a lawfully established dwelling. This is verbatim from what's in statute. Moving down to page 16, members of the Planning Commission, 18172.080. This just adds in the regional representation we're looking for on our Planning Commission. I think this language comes out of our comprehensive plan. Moving to page 17, section 18-116-020, exclusive farm use. Again, this is updating our code to reflect the current OARs, which are a codification of the stop the dump case as far as applying the farm impacts test for conditional use permits. Page 19, 18.85, flood damage prevention. This just updates the references to the building structural flood proofing regulations as they currently are. Next page, 1812, establishment of zones. Removes chapter 18.84. It's been replaced by 1885. Page 21, 1816-010. This is just to incorporate the new state law allowing childcare facilities as a conditional use. In this language is verbatim statute. 1808 definitions. I'm going to loop back to this as I get through the rest of it. Moving down to 23. This just cleans up our section on recreational vehicles on an individual lot. See the strike through there at sub A is then restated there, I think, in a more clear fashion there at sub 3. And then here, this is on page 24, recreational use and recreational zones. For our recreational zones, we did not have private recreational use as a stated allowed use. And so we're just adding that in here as that's what these zones are designed to be. So someone can come and park their RV there as they come to recreate on their property. And this then cites back to that previous section we just mentioned, 18-132-080. And then the rest of it, the next, what is that, 58 pages are all updates to our code, changing the reference from county court to board of commissioners. Throughout those two titles, title 17 and 18, is that I think that's been done in the rest of the code, but has not been done yet in this portion. So are there any questions on any of that?
I don't have any.
Appreciate it. Let me run through that. All right, so I'm going to move back to our proposed 1808 definitions. Threw together a PowerPoint this morning, so I apologize if there are any typos. Standard design for these, so I hope you guys are used to the white background and black font. So dwelling units intended for occupancy. As I get started in this, I want to make sure the board is clear and the public is clear what the roles are here. I'm not an elected official. My salary is paid for by fees, permit fees and planning applications. What I am doing here is presenting the information to you as I see it, as my staff sees it. So you guys as elected officials that are out there with the public can make the best decision with the information I provide. This is an important topic for our staff. Next slide, please. And so what we are talking about is trying to add a definition to add some context to what is a dwelling unit versus what is an accessory structure. Previous slide, please. So dwelling unit as it currently stands in our code. Dwelling unit means one or more rooms in a building designed for occupancy by one family and having not more than one cooking facility. This has been in our code, I believe, for a long time. It doesn't provide a lot of clarity. I think the key language in here is the phrase designed for occupancy, which historically has at times been interpreted to mean no oven. Now, next slide. Picture on the left there is a ribeye. The other two are some tasty chicken dishes. These are just 3 pictures out of thousands or possibly millions on the internet for recipes that can be made without an oven. Next slide, please. A lot of this is new. A lot of these new modern cooking appliances have gained popularity in recent years, including the Instapot. It's a 9-in-1 multi-cooker. I use mine all the time. You have air fryers, which act like small convection ovens, creating crispy fried texture. And you have portable induction cooktops. combines the power of gas, but is more efficient, and they are portable and they can be placed anywhere. All these can just be plugged into a standard outlet. Next slide, please. So the proposed definition seeks to, I'll just read it out as it has here. So dwelling unit. I am proposing that we strike the prohibition on having only one cooking facility. I think that has not been an issue here in the county. I think that if someone especially wants an outdoor kitchen, they should be able to. If they want to have more than one cooking facility in their house, as long as it's a single dwelling, I don't see why we would limit that. But then the proposed definitions do provide context to what design for occupancy means. As it's stated here, it means a structure or a portion of a structure designed to include permanent independent living facilities with 4 or more interior plumbing fixtures, kitchen, full bathroom, and space which could be reasonably used as a bedroom. The proposed definition, next slide please, adds further definition to what a kitchen means. Kitchen means an area designed to be used for the preparation of food. Then design elements that indicate an area may be used for the preparation of food include capabilities of a cooking facility, sink, countertop exceeding 6 lineal feet, dedicated space, an electrical outlet capable of supporting a refrigerator exceeding 5 cubic feet, space with access to electrical and drain hookups that could reasonably be used for a dishwasher. Next slide, please. All right, so why is this definition important to staff? Why is this important to Crook County? From my eyes, knowing which structures are being used to live in and how many are living where are foundational to responsible land use planning. Otherwise, with anything, it's if you're getting garbage in, it's going to be garbage out. It's foundational to ensuring proper fire, life, safety standards of residents through building codes. It's key to eventually developing a pathway to ADUs so we can have affordable housing and respond to the needs of the market properly. And then it's also key to establishing a framework so growth pays for growth instead of being subsidized by the rest of the taxpayers. Next slide, please. As you can see here, Crook County this is from the Portland State University population study. Population growth due to migration since 2020. We are the shining bar there on the far left. People are moving here. So where are we going to put them? A lot of the city of Prineville is running out of space for vacant subdivisions to be developed. As staff notes, a lot of the vacant land outside of city limits, most of the low-hanging fruit has already been plucked. And so where are these people going to go? Next slide, please. Goals. The goals with this definition is to provide clarity and flexibility to applicants so they can look at the definitions and understand what they are able to build. And so staff can work with applicants to build any type of legal accessory structure that is not intended to be a dwelling. We've been working on this definition for months. I've invited people to come to me with a proposed use of an accessory structure that would not work under this definition. I have not seen one yet. Something we hope to continue working through, but the point of this is to have flexibility. So I'm going to go back to the definition real quick. So say you want an accessory structure with full bathroom and a full laundry room and a large sink there to wash your clothes or whatever else you need to wash. You can totally do that. You can do that. You can have more than 4 interior plumbing fixtures. You can have as many as you need to. You just would need to remove a kitchen or the full bathroom or the space reasonably used to be a bedroom. Again, it requires all 4 of these elements to be met to be considered designed for occupancy. The intent of this is for the accessory structure to be dependent on the main dwelling for some function of independent living. That's how this definition works. If you want to build something that's not a dwelling, we can help you get there through this definition. Going back to the goals, another one of the goals is to provide consistency in the application. So people aren't, so if, you read the definition intended for occupancy, what does that mean? You call staff, you talk to someone on the phone, are you going to get the same answer every single time? This way it's in the code, it's consistent, staff knows what it means, public knows what it means. Everybody who comes gets treated the same way. So it's for fairness for all parties. It's an efficient and fair way to avoid expensive legal battles instead of dealing with this after the fact. Once a property has been sold and a unknowing buyer purchases the property and realizes that the ADU that they had is not actually an ADU. That is a complicated and expensive way for the citizens to get that resolved. It also preserves staff time. So instead of focusing on bringing people back into code compliance, we can focus on processing current applications and keeping our current fees down for the public. And then it also aligns this definition with the building codes, from the Oregon Structural Specialty Code definition. Now, for my eyes, how does this align with our county goals? Next slide, please. Goal number 1, outstanding service. This enables Community Development Department to plan for Crook County's future, preserve staff resources to address current applications and long-range planning. Goal number 2, financial sustainability. Promotes proper fees are paid for structures, so our staff does not need to raise fees for other applicants. It encourages a collaborative culture where then we can talk to developers on how best to design their structures to meet their intended use. And it improves the safety and livability. Louis is not here today. He spoke about children living in rooms without bedrooms, no way to get out of the room. This will help prevent that. It will help possibly enable a path to have funding for streets, infrastructure, emergency services, and safe communities. Next slide, please.
I'd like to share.
As we look at this, it's important to consider what other jurisdictions are doing. So I pulled up the definition for dwelling unit from these other jurisdictions. I did not go in and look at all their definitions to see if they further defined any of these terms like I did for us. Like I said, this was pulled together since yesterday. So Hood River County is the only one that has our definition. 1 or more rooms designed for occupancy by one family and not having more than 1 cooking facility. I'm going to read through all these for you if that's all right. Jefferson County, a structure that is designed or intended to be used for human habitation and provides complete independent living facilities for 1 or more persons, including permanent provisions for living, sleeping, cooking, and sanitation. Grant County, any building or portion thereof which contains living facilities, including provisions for sleeping, eating, cooking, and sanitation as required by the Uniform Building Code for not more than 1 family or a congregate residence of 10 or less persons. Wheeler County, a building or portion thereof consisting of 1 or more rooms, including a bathroom and kitchen facilities, which are arranged, designed, or used as living quarters for 1 family or 1 household. Commissioner Crawford, I did try to look up Lake County. Their definition section was not available on the internet, and so I'm not really.
I'm guessing it's like the bottom 3.
Well, I don't know. Like I said, I couldn't find it. Next slide, please. Wasco County, a lawfully established dwelling is a single-family dwelling which A, has intact exterior walls and roof structure, B, indoor plumbing consisting of a kitchen sink, toilet, and bathing facilities connected to a sanitary waste disposal system, C, has interior wiring for interior lights, D, has a heating system. Deschutes County, their definition for a dwelling means a building or portion thereof providing living facilities for 1 or more persons living together, including provisions for sleeping, cooking, and sanitation. Cooking facilities shall be limited to 1 kitchen, and sanitation facilities shall include at least 1 full bath. All areas shall have an enclosed and unobstructed way of travel within the dwelling unit to all other areas within the dwelling unit. With the exclusion of bedrooms, all areas within the dwelling unit shall be shared in common. Slide, please. There's a lot of those definitions kind of hint at. A lot of those definitions align pretty well with the Oregon Structural Specialty Code, the building side. And so they have a definition for accessory structure, a habitable or non-habitable structure that is accessory to and incidental to that of the dwellings and that is located on the same lot. Non-habitable accessory structures include, but are not limited to, garages, carports, storage sheds, tool sheds, and garden structures. Dwelling unit, a single unit providing complete independent living facilities for 1 or more person, including permanent provisions for living, sleeping, eating, cooking, and sanitation. The kitchen is described as an area used or designed to be used for the preparation of food. Staff reached out to the city of Prineville on this question. Their definition as it currently stands is a structure or portion thereof consisting of 1 or more rooms, including a bathroom, living, eating, sleeping, and kitchen facilities, which are arranged, designed, or used as living quarters for 1 family or household. Planning director of the city said the idea of using the oven range as the defining item of the structure seems silly to him. A bed and bath can be accessory, but once you start adding other common household items and utilities like laundry, counters, kitchen sinks, it's clearly being developed for individual living. He focuses on the last part, designed or used as living quarters. And finally, he said that he would prefer that the definitions between the city and county are aligned, and he is open to updating what his definition is. Slide, I want to bring your attention to a recent series of case law. This is from a series of cases, Grange Hill, went up and down between the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court and back down to Luba. I think there were, multiple cases here. They involved, so what we're talking about is when a structure that is less than a dwelling becomes a dwelling, that line. These cases are about the line when a dwelling becomes something more than a dwelling. But it's the same concept. There, the Supreme Court said there undoubtedly will be structures that seemingly straddle the design standards for two categories of buildings. Luba interpreted these rulings. They said that design characteristics, including those driven by building code regulations, are relevant but not determinative considerations in concluding whether a proposed structure is a dwelling. Again, this came out just over a month ago. And they finally remanded the case back to the county to do a deeper dive on the design characteristics. Now, as this is our current code, we get, assuming this goes through an appeal and goes through the Board of Commissioners, you guys get a chance to define that. You guys get support and deference on how you interpret your own code. But it has to be in line with the plain language of the statute, plain language of the code. And so reading through this guidance, saying that intended for occupancy just means, is there an oven or not? That might not withstand judicial scrutiny. So next slide, please. Again, this is a review of the definition. I am open to any questions you guys have on how staff will interpret how this is phrased. Again, encourage people to try to bring other uses for these structures and see how this definition would not fit. This is what we came up with. Next slide, please. This is, as I told the Planning Commission, I don't think this is a perfect definition. And as I told you guys in my last reading, I think this is should be a living document that needs to be started somewhere. We need to move down the path. We're having a proper definition that aligns with building codes for the various reasons that I mentioned. But it's up to you guys, elected officials, to make the decision of whether or not this definition is ready to go, ready to be codified. And so you have some options here. I'm going to read through these. The rest of the ordinance, I think, is uncontroversial, and it's important that those provisions get passed. And so it's within your authority to modify the recommendation from the Planning Commission, to modify my recommendation, and you can remove this code change on the definitions and bring this back on its own or with other code updates. We went through all the public process. We had work sessions. We had, like I said, the recommendation of the Planning Commission. We got some public input, but not a ton. I will let you know, I asked staff this morning, we've been kind of implementing this a little while, and under staff's estimation, 90% of the people that have come to us with this, and we've worked it through with them, they have been grateful and they have not had a problem with these new interpretation. You're not hearing from them, but overall, this has been working. But as I said, we can bring this back at another time. I would think it would be helpful to collaborate with the city of Prineville on where they're going with this, so we could, in theory, have joint work sessions where we work this definition out. We could try to get the public more involved so they can give us some more input on where this goes. Instead of doing this via ordinance, I could look deeper into implementing this simply as administrative guidance. Or I think you guys might be within your authority to make a motion to interpret dwelling unit or design for occupancy as you wish, and staff could then move forward with that with the public. In the interim, it's my duty as planning director to interpret the language in our code faithfully. That means look at it in the text and the context. Words that are undefined, you're supposed to use their common ordinary usage. That's what I try to do faithfully for our entire code. Otherwise, you guys could approve this with the rest of the ordinance, either as is, or you could tweak the wording. Thank you, Brown. You can close that. So I didn't bring Lewis with me. I didn't bring any staff, but I did see that quite a lot of staff is here online. If you have any questions for them or any questions for me, now's the time.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this. I think this is adding additional regulation to people in Crook County, and I think that's something we do really well by staying out of the way. I think the state is already puts more regulation on the citizens than they need to deal with. And I know you don't believe this increases the regulation, but I do. And I'm not in favor of it. I mean, was there anybody from up here or in the public that requested us move forward with this? To come up with, to change what we're currently doing?
You mean, did any one of you commissioners come?
Yeah.
You guys didn't do that for any of these code
Yeah.
changes.
But I mean, something like
is-
this, that's pretty important to the people. I mean, obviously, this is a big meeting
Yeah, it's,
as we have meetings, and so we have a lot of people here. How do we get to this point and not reach out to the citizens? And I mean, obviously, you know who the builders are in our community. That seems very simple to be able to reach out to those people that are coming in on a constant basis and saying like, here's what we're thinking about doing.
yeah, as they come in the office, we do tell them, we, like I said, we followed all the requirements to have public work sections and to have meetings for the planning commission. They've been notified then. But I am a huge fan of public process. And so if you're saying, that's what you think it needs, and like I said, that's your prerogative as a county official, elected official. Most of the people that have come through, like I said, have not had a problem with this, and we've been able to work through with them, and they have been happy with the results. And so, my job as planning director is to plan for the county and to make these decisions. And this came at the insistence of staff as they're working through these problems that have not gone away and have seemed to gotten worse.
Yeah.
And
And
so-
yeah, again, we had a conversation yesterday about the problems, and I think that if we're not being clear that if you don't have a stove in there, that it's not a habitable place, I think that we maybe need to be more clear about that, because I don't think we're sitting here saying that if you build one of these locations and you don't have a stove, then all you have to do is wink, wink, nod, nod, throw a stove in there, and then you can stay there. I mean, that's not at all what the county's saying. And, you know, through the process of sale of property, we find these, and I know it's difficult sometimes to go through that process, but we don't need to be the policeman of Crook County. You know, we don't need to be out there holding everybody's hand when we go through these things. At least that's how I feel. And I think that's one of the great things about living in Crook County is that you don't have the government looking over your shoulder all the time. If you screw up, obviously you're going to have to work through that process and come back into compliance. But I feel very confident that the people of Crook County don't want additional rules and regulations on what they are building and how that process works. So let's see what everybody in the public has to say.
Any
And
questions? for
obviously
staff?
the rest of the group up
Or any other commissional comments?
I would like to see what the public has to say myself, or I comment.
Let's take about a 5-minute break.
Yeah, can I use the restroom before we get into the meat of it?
Why don't we take a 5-minute?
5-minute break? Okay.
I'm totally good.
All right, folks, I think we're getting started again. If you want to wave anybody in from the outside area. First, we'll listen to anybody that is in favor of it. I'm going to ask the crowd here, and then just raise your hand if you want to come up and speak in favor. And then I'm going to move online. Oh, wait, yeah. Anybody online that would like to weigh in favor? Just comment in the chat box, please.
Might want to say we're back.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we missed the opportunity to invite federal, state,
Yeah.
and local agencies. Is there any federal, state, or local agencies that would like to weigh in on this process? Okay, doesn't look like there's either of those folks. Now we're going to look at people that are opposed to the,
Have to do neutral.
I think it's neutral or in favor.
Oh, okay.
So if you're a neutral or back in the in favor box, if you're neutral online or in the room. Okay, and then we'd like to hear from people in opposition. So I think we have a list here of folks. Jack Utterback. Oh.
I just had not had.
Yeah. So right now I have Jack, Dylan, and a few others. Is there anybody else that was not able to get their flyer in? Okay, well, I called Jack first, so I'll let you go first and then we'll just work our way down the line. Yeah, you got to come up here to the deal. You got to say your name, your address. It's a whole deal.
I'm Jack Utterback. My address is 8310 Southwest Red Cloud Lane, Pal Butte. I've been a builder since, been building here since 1989. And pretty much agree with what Seth brought up as far as we don't need any more regulations. Our state is already regulated quite heavily on building. And also the big thing with me is cost for people. I mean, if the housing cost here is increased dramatically, and there's so many people that can't afford homes. And if there is a second dwelling on, I don't really see a problem with it. I understand it's not what they're looking for. But I just don't think we need to add any more rules to it. And that's about all I have to say on it.
Great.
Thank you.
Brad?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, Commissioners. Brad Wilson, resident of Crook County for nearly 55 years. Property address is 2645 Southeast Kennedy Way here in Prineville. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I provided comments at the first reading of Ordinance 357 2 weeks ago, specific to Title 17, Section 17.12.060 and Title 18, Sections 18.08.040 and 18.08.110. As Commissioner Crawford and the general public attending today did not have an opportunity to hear those comments, I'd like to give a brief recap. The proposed language in sections in Title 18, trying to clarify the difference between a dwelling unit and an accessory building. While I appreciate county staff and planning commission effort, I offer the following. I will start with Title 17, which is the deed restrictions and covenants. It's Title 17, Section 17.12.060, Item 17 in the Crook County Code within the Subdivision Review Committee. We had a little bit of a discussion on this, I think, in the prior testimony. This section is proposing new language for the commission to consider. Item 17 currently reads protective covenants or deed restrictions. The proposed language is protective covenants or deed restrictions, and new language, including but not limited to the defensible space standards, fire sprinklers, or secondary access issues, or access for fire standards. I have asked staff and the commission to expand on this proposed language, specifically the fire sprinkler provision. The response I have received, and we heard it here today, is I think there's a law requiring this. I don't think is clarification on whether this is actually a requirement by the state or not. I'm not an expert, but I've researched this for weeks and cannot find a law requiring fire sprinklers in detached 1 and 2 family dwellings or homes. I would welcome an explanation from county staff or the commission or anyone that would provide me the state law exists. What I have found in the statewide code interpretation number 01-01 by the State of Oregon Building Codes Division, referencing the 2023 Oregon Residential Specialty Code, 2023 Oregon Plumbing Specialty Code, and the 2019 National Fire Protection Association subject of the interpretation is 1 and 2 family dwelling fire sprinkler systems. This interpretation is considering whether an NRPA 13D type system is an approved standard for voluntary installation. Now, not directly related to that, but within this code interpretation, it is stated that the Oregon Residential Specialty Code does not require fire sprinkler systems in whole or in part to be installed in detached 1 and 2 family dwellings or townhomes. State code does allow some local jurisdictional interpretation concerning access and egress. And that really could be the potential, for the reason I get back from the feedback of, is this ability to have their some interpretation. My question to staff and the commission, why is this being introduced in the subdivision review committee if a state law is present to require this? I would ask county staff why they pick these 3 items to identify in their including but not limited list, which would be fire sprinklers. I have to bring the defensible space, fire sprinklers, and I'll have to get to the last one in the middle. So I'm asking, why did they pick those 3 to name in this all-inclusive, or not in, those 3 items out of this long list that they have? I've been told that Juniper Canyon Road has an egress issue. If a law exists, I would assume all new homes being built in this area would be required to install sprinklers, not just the new subdivisions being proposed. I believe it exists within the subdivision review committee, so Crook County can require developers write this into the covenants of the subdivision before planning approval, thereby forcing developers and HOAs to enforce this requirement and stripping property owners' rights to decide if fire sprinklers are a necessary provision for their family. My opinion, if no law exists, it seems an arrogant stance to have 10 people on the review committee to impose its will on county inhabitants without a public process and each individual's right to choose. I urge the commission to strike the proposed language. Codifying it will only result in further erosion of property owner rights, increase costs substantially, typically $10,000 to $30,000 per residence, and removes the ability for developers or homeowners to have a discussion on these issues in the future. I'll move now to Title 18, Section 18.08 definitions. I will start with 18.08.040 definition of design for occupancy. This term is undefined by the state of Oregon. John went through this earlier, but Crook County's proposed definition is design for occupancy means a structure or point of a structure designed to include permanent independent living facilities with 4 or more interior plumbing fixtures, kitchen, full bathroom. And I want to take note of the next word there, the word and. Space, which would be reasonably used as a bathroom. That word and is very important. So from my perspective, I think we did this in the first reading, that all of these items would have to be present to be considered a dwelling. We went through Crook County's definition of dwelling unit, meaning 1 or more rooms in a building designed for occupancy by 1 family, proposed to strike, and having not more than 1 cooking facility. The state definition of a dwelling unit means a single unit providing complete independent living facilities for 1 or more persons, including permanent provisions for living, sleeping, eating, cooking, and sanitation. My question is, instead of entering new, more restrictive language that further muddies the water, could the county just adopt the state standard for dwelling unit? The same language that they reference for development and code compliance today when you talk to the code compliance officer or planning. The same definition that county residents have understood for decades. A dwelling has to have living, sleeping, eating, cooking, and sanitation. Title 18, Section 18.08 definitions. This will be 18.08.110 definition of kitchen. State definition. Kitchen means an area designed for the preparation of food. County's past practice, along with multiple other jurisdictions, Oregon, use the term cooking as synonymous with the preparation of food. We see this in Crook County Code under the definition of habitable floor. To be considered an accessory building and not a dwelling today is simply to not have a cooking appliance such as a stove or oven in the building. That comes from your code compliance officer. That comes from the code compliance cases that we've seen. We see this in the first design element the county is proposing, but not just the appliance, but any wiring or outlet cannot be present as well. The next 2 elements, a sink and countertop exceeding 6 feet, are a stretch. With the last 2 elements, a dedicated space and electrical outlet capable of supporting a refrigerator exceeding 5 cubic feet, or space with access, feet. Now, the next word is really important. It is or. Space with access to an electrical drain hookups that could reasonably be used for a dishwasher are absurd. Any electrical outlet at 120 volts can support even the largest residential refrigerator. and a dishwasher is for washing dishes. It has no bearing on the preparation of food. The key point here is the language at the end of the fourth element, the word or. As previously stated in my earlier comments, words matter, and the word or in this proposed language allows county staff to decide what elements and the number of elements that could be present depending on who is reviewing the plan. Each application could be viewed differently. This doesn't provide clarity as the county promotes. It provides more uncertainty and potential costs for county residents. I offer this to the commissioners, and could I please? I only have one copy, so.
We can put a bed in here and we'd be living, right?
I just like the commissioners all look at it before I comment further. I'm sure the commissioners understand where that location is. And I offer this, under the proposed language, this break area outside those offices could be considered a kitchen. It has more than 6 feet of countertop and it has a residential sized fridge with an outlet. Both definitions that I've just talked about provide more regulation and cost for residents of Crook County. Residents will be further restricted in accessory buildings and planning for future adoption of ADUs, upcoming legislation considering 2 residences on rural properties, planning for hardships, for aging parents, and experience higher unneeded costs. It further expands code compliance issues by adding more elements or potential violations, increasing the workload on the county's compliance officer, something this language was intended to reduce. These code amendments are counterintuitive of meeting state goals of new affordable housing units. State goal is to add 36,000 new units each year and support rural communities by increasing housing development in small towns and rural areas. Instead of trying to introduce more restrictive measures on accessory buildings, perhaps we should be focusing on expanding opportunity during the current housing crisis. The low-hanging fruit, the potential solution to accessory building issues is to expedite and expand ADU adoption throughout the county. Instead of adding red tape, let's remove it. At the first reading, we heard from Crook County's code compliance officer who voiced that the new language is pretty restrictive. We have the chair of the County Planning Commission voice. This may not be the right time for these code amendments. I don't know what else I can offer other than words matter, and the proposed words steer us towards progressive policies. I believe the residents of Crook County are more conservative and don't look to government to solve their problems, but rather consider progressive government as the problem. Let's do what's best for the inhabitants of Crook County. Dismiss the proposed code amendments in Title 17 and 18. If the commission feels there is some merit to these amendments, then it must delay adoption and send these amendments back to the Planning Commission for further consideration and public input. Thank you for your time today, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Susie?
I have no questions. You did very well, Brad. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have any questions.
Good.
All right.
Thank you. Okay. Julie Thompson?
Julie Thompson, Green Valley Road in Prineville. I am against this change. I agree with Seth in this instance. I don't think we need to regulate the people of Crook County anymore. I also agree with Brad and many of his statements. Housing is super expensive here. It's hard for kids to even move out of homes anymore. So if we can support that by having additional dwellings, and the only discrepancy being how they cook their food, it seems a little bit foolish to me that we're going to regulate that by that, and countertop space. It just seems like a waste of time and money for the residents and the county.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you. Tracy Etterback?
Good morning. I'm Tracy Etterback, and I live on Southwest Red Cloud Lane in Powell Butte. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Very soft-spoken, though. Okay, can everybody hear her? Okay, perfect.
I wanted to say I agree 100% with all of Brad's points he made. And I was listening to Mr. Eisler's presentation, and he went over how different counties have this the building rules and their wording, what he'd like to change on ours. And they all seem very comparable, until he got to Deschutes County. And it was extremely, detailed. And I feel like that's the last thing we want over here is any more Deschutes County rules or changes. There have been so many of them. And as far as, someone just having an extra sink in their outbuilding or their building, it's not their home. I mean, we do. We need to have a dishwasher, an extra dishwasher during canning season. I mean, there's a lot of reasons that people would have that additional, a dishwasher or laundry. We have a swimming pool at our house and we go through so many towels, and we have a laundry facility not in our home. We do in our home, of course we do, but there's additional, in the other building on our home. And so I just feel like there's a lot of things that people in Crook County do so much differently than maybe Deschutes County. And I think something Jack was going to mention too, the cost of all of this stuff, we have Facebook that lights up a lot of the county, but now all of the people trying to build a home have to get lights that only shine down. And it just seems so ridiculous to me because people live on land and you have to get out there to get to your animal or this or that. And it's like, it just doesn't make sense for our county. So those are just some things I wanted to add in, and I appreciate what you said too, Seth. I'm in agreement with that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dylan Wilson?
Morning. My name's Dylan Wilson. My address is 2797 Southeast Kennedy Way. I'd just like to speak out, kind of following Brad's notes and everybody else's as well as yours, Commissioner Crawford. One big thing I noticed that I feel like is I've never been to one of these, but coming here on such big issue and as many contractors and builders and people in the community that work here, nobody's here. I mean, there's a few, but there's 20,000 people residing in Crook County. And I think that some of this stuff should be made more public and notified so that we get more public input, because I just think there was a lack of it. And I think that it gets shoved through and nobody knows. And then next time somebody goes in there, it's like, well, what's this? What's that? And it just, oh, it's the way it is. That's kind of my biggest concern. So I'd like to see that. That's pretty much all I got to say.
Thank you so much. We'll go, just one last request. Is there anybody out there that didn't get a chance to fill out and has any questions? Okay, we'll go online. Oh, yeah, you need to, I mean, you're welcome to just, no, I don't think we need to fill out. Just come on up and ask your questions and.
Good day. My name's Ivan Smith, 3550 Main Street. And I just wonder where all this came from. Do we have, or is it our employees that are dreaming up more regulations for us? That's when they kind of, the beginning of this whole problem or this whole issue. And so that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Come on up.
Clay Roden, 3742 Sunset Lane. I just have a question. So only certain parts of the county you can have an ADU, and some parts of the county you can't. How long has this been, or has this been adopted, or what?
John, you want to answer that? I know there's state rules that apply, and then there's also local.
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. ADUs, I forget, Will, you might remember when those were allowed by the state. They aren't allowed on resource ground, and so it's all the non-resource ground. Crook County put these into our code a few years ago, before my time as planning director. Went through the same public process. They are currently allowed in Powell Butte communities. There have been some difficulties with getting those to really get going as far as getting the appropriate water source. There are different additional state standards on ADUs that we have to incorporate into our code. My understanding is the Planning Commission at the time felt that there was not the infrastructure in place in certain other communities like Juniper Canyon to allow ADUs at that time. I fully endorse taking another hard look at that and allowing ADUs wherever it makes sense. Part and parcel with that is having a firm definition of what is a dwelling and what is an accessory structure. If we try to incorporate ADUs in these other neighborhoods, but they can just build it as an accessory structure and not be subject to these additional rules, they won't be ADUs, and the attempts to incorporate ADUs will be unsuccessful. Like I said in the beginning, this is a foundational issue that is inherent in all other planning that we are trying to do. With this definition, we can then say, yes, this structure you're trying to build is an ADU. Here's how we can help you get it on your property.
How about north of town? Is north of town an area that you can do ADUs? I know that when I was in the crowd, Clayton asked me that.
Yeah, I think, like I said, any
on the zoning.
non-resource zone. So as long as it's not EFU or forest zone, under state law, we can incorporate those. Like I said, I think we started kind of to test the waters in Powell Butte. But I agree it's high time to take another look at that. As I stated at the last hearing, I agree it's high time we go to the state and try to get these rules relaxed so we can make housing more affordable. The money saved by building an accessory structure instead of an ADU or instead of a dwelling, they're still paying their builders, they're still paying their contractors, they're still paying their architect. The money they're not getting, that they're saving is fees that go to support emergency services, infrastructure, and possibly down the road, the ability to then use that money so we can fund the improvement of roads. But as it stands now, ADUs are only allowed in Powell Butte, to answer your question. Were there any other public comments come up, or should I?
And that was with the Planning Commission, that was part of our thing, is that if we opened it up again, you have to have when you build a residence, you have emergency, sheriff, fire, you have all these things. And so one of the things is we needed to accommodate a way that you're adding more people, you may be adding more emergency services. So at the time, it was thought just to do Powell Butte, but I do agree with you. And particularly now that we have aging parents and it becomes very cost prohibitive to do assisted living facilities, we need to take in the whole state of Oregon a really hard look at ADUs. I know in the county that I came from in California, in high-end subdivisions, they had a mother-in-law quarters, which had these elements, and then they had a primary residence. It looked very nice. You didn't even know what it was. And we need to start taking a look at that on more levels than just assisted living. But at the time when it came, and it's been a while, I mean, that it was brought to, that was where we just decided, let's try it. But we do need to go back to that.
Commissioner, I'll just add, so in the same manner that cooking appliances are evolving, I think the family unit or the household unit is also evolving. I think that that bar graph that I showed you in the beginning, where Crook County is far and away the leader in migration. I think if the state should hear from anybody on how to fix this, it should be us. Crook County should be able to go there and say, there are people moving here. We need a way to house them affordably in a way that's safe. We need to change, what these dwelling standards are. That's the path to get this fixed. If there's not the infrastructure, the emergency services in place to do ADUs responsibly, I would counter there's certainly not the services there to do it in a manner that we aren't even tracking. So for many reasons, these are part of the reasons why we brought this language forward.
Thank you, John.
Lori Desjardins, Quail Valley Drive. Can you hear me? I agree with you. I like less red tape, less regulations. I think that when we're starting to count plumbing fixtures and the description of the counter space, that sort of thing. Although that does not describe my barn, it does describe my dream barn. I think my question for you, John, is, I heard you say something about outdoor kitchens. So is it my understanding that your staff, somebody comes in with plans, they have new construction? As it reads right now, a living dwelling, does that mean you're limited to just one kitchen facility? So does that open the door that when somebody sees, oh, we have an outdoor kitchen now, is that additional fees for permit type thing? Because I can be completely on board for our description of what a dwelling is, maybe needs some clarity, and you kind of opened the door to that. So maybe that's red tape that I'd approve of.
I think I understand we approve outdoor kitchens, but the language in our code kind of speaks against it. And so, like I said, that's kind of a housekeeping thing. It doesn't make any sense for that language to be in there if there are other ways to define this stuff. But to Brad's question about the other section about the Division Review Committee, we do have public agency here now. And so you can come up and give it, like I said, I just didn't want to speak for him. So Russ, do you mind coming up and?
Could we just go through the rest of anybody online and then we'll bring Russ up at the end? Anybody online that wants to weigh in? Gone. Okay, Russ, thank you for coming.
Sorry, before we switch subjects here, I just want to address some of the comments from the public. Is and Brad mentioned it, that the definition for defined for occupancy has that and there. So people concerned about plumbing fixtures, you need to just remove one of the elements that makes it a complete independent living facility. If you want to have a full laundry room, you want to have a big sink, you want to have a full bath, that's fine. You just can't have the kitchen, right? Or you can't have space for a bedroom. It just needs to be dependent on the main dwelling for some reason, just like it says in the structural code, just like the law is under state law. So that's where the flexibility comes from. I know that it's legalese, but hopefully people understand there is an and there, so it requires all four of those in order to trigger that fixture limit.
No. Sure, come on up, but we're not going to have a big back and forth deal here. But you're welcome to come up. You got to come up. So you got to come to the mic. You got to say your name again. It's mostly for our minutes, right? Okay. And so we don't just have, oh, who, 2 weeks later, who was there talking?
Yep.
That's what we need.
Do I start over again?
Just say your name and
My
your
name's
address.
John Wilson, 2797 Southeast Kennedy Way.
Thank you.
Address. Just responding to that, the and the interpretation of that is so open-ended, a reasonable space for a bedroom. I mean, you know as well as I do, you could put a mattress in here. You could do any. It's so open-ended, and I just that was it. Just leaves. It still leaves a lot of interpretation up to Planning Commission and Building Department.
Thank you. All right, this is the last one though, and then we're moving to Russ.
Brad Wilson, 2645 Southeast Kennedy Road. I just want the commission and John to know, I am not trying to be a roadblock here. I just simply am looking at it. When I look to the future for everybody, what makes the clearest path? Adding more restrictions and not helping us get to the ADU to help the families, that just seems, I'm not for that. John's definition of design for occupancy fits fairly well with the state's definition, other than it removes the eating portion of the state definition. I welcome to go back through a public process now that we're notified about it. And I know the legal notices went out, right? But descriptions are very tiny and it's really hard to get on that. But I am more than willing, I think a lot of citizens are, to work collaboratively with the Planning Commission to go back through this process and come to an end that works for both parties. So thank you.
Great. Russ? I think the biggest question is, where does the sprinkler come from? Nobody can really identify if that is a state law or if that's a local flavor of how we want things, or that's kind of what we'd really appreciate some clarity on.
Yeah, well, I'll do my best. Russ DeBoot, I'm the fire marshal for Crook County Fire and Rescue, also a resident of Crook County for almost 39 years now. After I'm done talking, they may all want to come back up and talk again. I'm happy to answer questions afterwards as well for folks in the audience if they want to dive deeper or I didn't clarify something or they just had questions. So where does the fire sprinkler requirement come from? It's a multifaceted really answer. It comes from several locations. It can come from the residential specialty code. It can come from the Oregon Fire Code. It can come from the Oregon Structural Specialty Code. And it can come from ORSs as well. So it really can come from a variety of pathways. If I'm understanding today's topic, we're really discussing subdivisions, potentially at least the subdivision review committee, and why historically Crook County's had this requirement going back to 2002, 2001 is the furthest back I can find it. So Crook County actually has over 20 subdivisions currently that have this requirement in them. Again, this goes back to the early 2000s. It's been predominantly used during the subdivision planning process where the fire code requires access and water supply. And so if someone cannot meet access and or water supply, there's a process where the fire marshal applies to the building official under the Uniform Alternative Construction Standards, or the UACS, which is an ORS. And the fire marshal essentially says, we have this development, we want it to go through. However, they cannot meet these requirements under the fire code. Now, whether that's access or it could be water supply. When we say water supply, in Oregon, all structures are required to have some level of firefighting water. Obviously, in the county, that doesn't exist in many facets unless you're in certain subdivisions. And so the developer at the time of their application through the county process, I as the fire marshal now, but my predecessors asked that developer whether they're going to invest in putting in water system similar to there's a couple in there's quite a few in Jupiter Canyon, but more recently in Powell Butte, where they've elected to the developer has elected to bring in Avion water and actually put in hydrants for firefighting. So Brasada Ranch, I think it's I'll get Grandview and Grand Ridge confused. I think Grand View is in Powell Butte, Grand Ridge is in Juniper Canyon, or vice versa. I apologize, but
Grandview is in Powell Butte, I believe.
Grandview's in
Flint Brooks subdivision.
Okay, so that developer elected to bring in a water system and install hydrants, and so therefore he met the access and water supply requirements and was not required by the code to require home fire sprinkler systems. Other communities, the developer has not chosen that path, and they've chosen to elect to use the UAC, the Uniform Alternative Construction Standard, which lists out, I believe, 5 things that the building official can then choose in order to help alleviate the fire code's concern of access and water supply. The very first option happens to be installing NFPA 13D fire sprinkler systems in the dwellings. And so since the early 2000s, that's where Crook County and Crook County Fire and Rescue and the developers have landed the solutions to the code requirements. I'll talk all day. I'll keep talking. There are other communities in the county that have a home fire sprinkler requirement that was brought in through a different avenue. So the fire code also requires that any development with 30 or more homes has secondary emergency egress access. If the developer can't make that happen, topography can't make that happen, or there's just some other option to where it's not physically possible to have a secondary access into that subdivision, the code gives an exception that says, okay, you can increase that number if you have all of those homes on that single access road be suppressed with a 13D system. And so there are other communities and subdivisions in Crook County that have a home fire sprinkler requirement, but it came from a completely different pathway through. And so, like I said, there's the code requirement for sprinklers comes at you a couple different ways depending on the specific application or what you're wanting to do.
But both of those examples are state law.
The Oregon Fire Code is state law. The Oregon Structural Specialty Code is state law. The UAC is an ORS. That's a state statute.
So I'm going to ask you, do we need to add what has been added on whatever, 17, whatever? Do we need that, or that's already been, is basically covered? I guess in your opinion. I'm asking your opinion, Russ.
No,
Sorry.
I appreciate that, Commissioner Hermrich. Without that code section directly in front of me, I don't think I can give you a specific answer. My understanding of really the rework of the subdivision review committee was to do a variety of things, one of which was to better lay out what we're going to talk about so that when developers or anybody wanted to go through that process, it wasn't necessarily a black box of, well, you just give us some information and then we'll just keep asking you in case you don't give us enough information. And so really the rework is to provide a better roadmap for folks that want to go through this process. So they're not guessing on what they're going to need to be able to, what burden of proof they're going to be able to need to come up with. And so if I remember correctly, again, this goes back really a while ago when you guys were working on this, the mention of the home fire sprinkler systems is just that. It's to give a placeholder to let the person know that this is going to be a conversation. There are solutions out there to do whatever the person would like to do with their development, but the language in the subdivision review committee in specific regard to fire code requirements are just that. It's more of a notice that these are things we are going to talk to you about, because when someone comes and applies to the county, they don't go through the fire code first. Land use typically happens before any sort of fire department plan review. And so because that's important that we notify folks early in the process that so they don't get approved for something and then I show up and say, nope. Because that doesn't feel good for anybody. It doesn't feel good for the fire district and it doesn't feel good for the county staff. And it certainly doesn't feel good for the person that's invested a bunch of time and money into a project and nobody told them that there was this hurdle in front of them. And so if I remember correctly, really the changes in that subdivision review committee, specifically for fire code related things, was just an attempt to try to get that information out in front of folks earlier so that they knew that the question or the conversations were going to come down. So that was maybe a non-answer to your direct question.
It was the answer. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Are there other options besides sprinklers that we could add to that list to give people more options, or is that kind of the only option if you don't have the water source?
So if you use the Uniform Alternative Construction Standard, there are a couple options within that. It's my professional opinion that the sprinkler system is the only reasonable solution for that. And we can certainly get into why I think that if you guys would like to, but I've been on fires where children would be alive today if they had a home fire sprinkler system. And so, I mean, it's easy for me to be passionate with that, but I certainly understand the other side of things with folks that have had different experiences or are just trying to get a project, their dream project through and all the things. And so I certainly can appreciate their side of things as well. But we're talking about trying to get people out of their house so that they can be alive. And I actually just spent all morning teaching a fire suppression class to some new recruits that we have. And we talked through the differences between modern construction and modern furnishings and all the things and how fire just operates differently than it did back in the 60s and 70s. And how quickly rooms will reach flashover, which layman's term is everything in this building, including us, is on fire at the same time. And that's not a survivable scenario. And so home fire sprinkler systems allow folks to get out of their house with more time when everything we've put in our house is actually decreasing that amount of time for us to be able to get out. And so if we're talking about subdivisions out in the community that are away from services or farther away from fire stations or farther away from help, and we want to do something to improve the survivability of those people, home fire sprinkler system is the solution.
Great. It looks like Randy has something to weigh in here real quick.
Thank you. Just wanted to comment and discuss further on Russ's, the different alternate methods. So it seems like my guess would be the next question is why has suppression been chosen for the county as a whole for the standard? Is the other options typically introduce additional 5/8 type X gypsum to be installed. It requires, one of the other options is compartmentalization of the dwelling unit itself. So at that point, you'd be chopping the house up into fire areas. That way it would limit the spread of the fire in case of a fire. It would also drag in possibly exterior rated, fire resistive rated construction. So a lot of times when you look at those alternatives, the cost to do any of those alternate methods far exceeds the limited 13D system. Typically, Russ, I think, quote me if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that like 250 gallons a minute, minimum one head to go off for the system?
Yeah, that's correct, Randy. Thanks. There's some misunderstanding on when we say you got to put in a home fire sprinkler system. We're not talking about the sprinkler system that exists in most commercial or industrial occupancies. We're not even talking about the sprinkler system that exists in the apartment complexes being built here in town. The 13D system is really a minimalist system. It's roughly designed to have one sprinkler head run for 10 minutes. It's not designed to suppress the fire. It's just designed to get the occupants out of the building. That can be solved several ways. Some folks connect it to their wells. Some folks that have a municipal style system will connect it to that. Other folks will just put a pressure tank in their garage with 200 gallons of water in it, 250, whatever the requirement is, and a pressure switch. And when the head pops, the water comes out, and that's it. But again, the point is to get the folks out. They're usually installed with plastic PEX tubing, so it's not steel piping throughout the house. And so I'm not discounting that it is a financial investment. It just happens to be the one that honestly I think is cheapest on the list, or I don't want to say cheapest, is the less expensive on the list, but also has the greatest impact on what we're trying to solve from that particular code standpoint.
Thank you. That's where I was trying to get to see if there was other options, and if, there are other viable options, we should list those too, but.
They're sort of listed, Commissioner Crawford, in that we use the UAC, which includes all of them, and then ultimately we have to choose one.
Yeah.
And the first on the list, and again, the one that Randy and I have settled on in our tenures here, but we're certainly the ones that our predecessors also settled on, again, going back to early 2001-ish, was the first one, which is the 13D home suppression system.
One of the options, it sends you to the Oregon Structural Specialty Code, which that would be like your commercial compartmentalization. So, at that point, are we going to have to sheetrock bedrooms during framing stage and deal with managed penetrations? I mean, it can get quite complicated trying to use any of the other types of methods that, as Mr. Edeback alluded to earlier, is building codes are getting more and more complicated. And, we all just want to build a house that's affordable and, our kids can get into these days. So.
All right. Anybody have any other questions for Russ?
No, I spoke with Russ yesterday because I had concerns about this, and he gave me the same description of what's going on, and I appreciate him coming in this morning. And
Thank you, Russ.
Thanks, Russ.
Thanks, Commissioners. Appreciate it.
You told it much better than I could try to repeat what you told me.
Thank you, Russ. I was going to say, I hope you see now why I wasn't going to speak for Russ on that question.
That's why I wasn't either.
Yeah, and so just to clarify, so the stuff in the subdivision review committee, the language about the covenants and deed restrictions, that's been in there for a long time. The language we're adding just gives examples of the types of covenants and restrictions we've been applying for decades, just so. As Russ stated, the developer is aware of this stuff ahead of time. It doesn't add any new regulation. It doesn't add any new requirements. It's the stuff we've been applying. It just lets them know kind of things that are frequently on the table. If you're ready to circle back, are we ready to circle back to?
Well, I think Russ has a good point. Is there anybody in the crowd that would like to comment on what Russ spoke to? Would you like to comment on what Russ spoke to?
Yes, I have to come back up.
Oh, yeah.
Brad Wilson, 2645 Southeast Kennedy Road. Thank you, Russ, for the final explanation. I've been trying to work through this, and I understand that it has to do with some codes that fire codes, and I've diligently searched that, but there was no single item that said that this was going to be a requirement. So this is conglomeration of things that led us to this. I still think by codifying those and entering them, you take the discussion away, right? There are alternative measures But if you codify that and put that in the language, then the county, I'm not saying they will, but the county will have, there'll be no discretion to have the secondary comment. It will be, we require you fire sprinklers. It's specifically named there. I just think it gives the county staff an advantage. So that's all I have.
So I'd like to clarify that. It sounds like from what Russ said, though, is that it doesn't say that that's the only option, that you have that option as well as the other options provided. It's just identifying that as the most likely choice that this committee uses while looking at state law. Russ, is that?
Yeah, sort of. So. That isn't a good answer.
Yeah, it had me till sorta.
So great question. So again, Russ DeBoot, Fire Marshal. The code on a variety of different topics does allow for certain exemptions or things like that. I think to fully answer your question, Commissioner Crawford, is within the UAC are a few options. But historically, we have not chosen any of them. When I say we, I mean the fire marshal and the building official have not chosen any of those other options because of what we were trying to solve with the home fire sprinkler system. And so while there are other options in that UAC, we have the homeowner doesn't necessarily get to choose that they want to compartmentalize their building, create 1 hour barriers between their bedrooms, put in, penetration, fire smoke dampers and all that sort of stuff. Because again, how the county has applied this was on, planned unit development subdivisions out in the county. This is not, and so therefore it's happens well before, quite honestly, the homeowner gets engaged. And it's that early conversation with the developer, who the developer at that point is making that decision for all the homeowners they're going to sell homes to. And so the developer is choosing whether to put in water supply per the code or agree that they will sell lots that have a requirement of a home suppression system on them. And so the developer is making that choice well before he sells any lots or plats any of the ground. And so that's where the homeowner necessarily doesn't have the decision because the developer made that decision when he made the subdivision.
I meant more the developer has the decision.
The developer could, apply to use one of the other four. In my 10 years as fire marshal, no one ever has. And they just agreed with the county and the fire marshal that the first option was the best option. So, but I certainly can, empathize and understand that if I bought a piece of property, my dream property and all the things, and after the fact, I was told that this was a requirement, I can see how that would make me upset. Which is one of the reasons why we've tried so hard to get these decisions and these conversations in at the planning stage, so that they're in the land use approvals, they are in the CC&Rs. So if somebody does a research of the property they'd like to buy, this sort of stuff should come out and they should hopefully read that when they're buying this property, here's a code covenant and requirement that says my dwelling has to have a suppression system in it. So they know beforehand.
So just to clarify, during the process of the subdivision committee, a developer could choose to go with those other options.
The developer could request
To
go with one of the other options.
It's very unlikely because it's much more costly than the sprinkler option, but it is on the table. It's not like we're taking that off the table.
It exists in the Uniform Alternative Construction Standard, ORS.
Okay.
And then the language essentially says the building official decides. However, that in consultation with the fire marshal, because again, in many locales, just like here in Crook County, Randy and I don't work for the same agency, and so it requires some collaboration. But to your point, Commissioner Crawford, in theory, yes, the developer could request that I would rather use one of these other ones. But the same problem might exist in that we would say, okay, that goes into the CC&R, and then now all of a sudden somebody that has bought that property to put their dream home can't have an open concept house because the developer had chose that these things are going to be chopped up into little fire compartments. And so
My point is we're not taking away the choice of out of the state law from the developer. That's not what this process would do.
we're not taking away the discussion. But it's at the end of the day, what I
Yes,
want to
yeah.
just, and maybe I'm not saying it correctly. At the end of the day, somebody is choosing, and that person choosing may not be the developer.
Got it.
He or they or she may request to use a different UAC, and the fire marshal and the building official at the time may say, nope, we're going with this one.
Got it.
And so I don't want to.
I hear what you're saying. Thank you.
Tell Randy to walk across the street.
Yeah.
And it's like the president, the vice president, though. We can't be in the same helicopter in case one crashes into the other one.
We're too big of targets together, probably. I was just gonna add on to Russ's that UAC standard. It allows us to where, you know, we talk about flexibility of Crook County. It in the language it says that we're to choose one or more. So we could choose to be more restrictive. We could say you need fire suppression and you need to wrap your entire house in hardy siding. You need to wrap your decks. You need to do non-combustible roofs. You know, it's a broad language of multiple things you could choose, but like Russ also said, is depending on the individual homeowner, the home he wants to build in the subdivision, it's gonna put so much on everybody to determine how you're gonna compartmentalize. At that point, do you say every bedroom because that's where they're normally gonna be sleeping? It's got to be compartmentalized, and you know, so it's not just the suppression itself. It's at the option of Russ or I to say, hey, you know, this development has 30 plus houses. We're stuck in a box draw, and we don't think that suppression is enough, and we want to compartmentalize and fire harden the exterior side of the home. Those are options we could choose to do, but just as just for consistency for everybody that develops in these newly subdivisions, the fire suppression is the most attainable alternative that, you know, we've been able to find. But like Russ said, is they can bring another option to the table. It's just, I think everybody's chosen the suppression because of the cost and ease and consistency that can be applied to any form or design of a home.
Perfect. Thanks for the clarification.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Russ.
Thanks,
Oh,
Russ.
he wants that. Do you want your photo of our office back? Oh,
I was gonna say, you can come back up
You gonna-
and take another picture.
are you gonna?
But what I would prefer is if we had a sink. I would really like that in that, if we're gonna give me the perfect kitchen, can I at least have a sink there?
So circling back, I just want to reiterate to Brad's point, it was Russell talking about the language in the subdivision review committee adds nothing substantive. There's no new law there. There's no new requirement. There's no new change of practice. It's merely put in there to advise developers of what frequently comes up. And so that language, if you guys don't want that in there, it won't change the law at all. It won't change what we were trying to do. It just will mean that developers won't be alerted to things that are frequently come up during these
Well,
subdivisions.
I think it's good to be in there. I think it's transparency. It lets people know what's going on.
And one of the things that hasn't been brought up is insurance. That is getting to be a very big problem on the West Coast. Probably across the whole United States, but just talking about fire here. So anyway, okay.
Great.
Okay.
I think we're ready to move forward.
Yeah, so just a reminder, there are a lot of changes in this ordinance as a whole, and you guys have a lot of discretion if you want to move forward. But now it's, I guess, your time to deliberate and I guess ask any further questions if you have.
Yeah, I think we should move forward with the less contentious things because I think there's a lot of things that need to be fixed. But I would like to see the dwelling language removed and maybe sent back to the planning commission. Lucky you, Mike. But I think we need to send that back and let them look it over because it sounds, I wasn't at the last meeting, but it sounds like even Mike from the planning commission believed that they would like to take a second look out of it and they may have made different decisions if they had that in front of them today.
I do want to address the thing about getting notices out. that is something that we struggle with on almost every meeting that we have, because used to be people read the Central Oregonian, now they don't. You know, we are going to start putting our Facebook page back on. We do have a website, but I want you to know, especially Paulina, you know, you have a 500-foot thing. Well, 500 feet in Paulina ain't nothing. So that has been a struggle since the entire, gosh, I was on the planning commission 8 years and whatever. So I agree with you. If you can come up with the best solution, I would definitely put it in there, but we do need to get it out to the community more. We do need more community participation, and it is so hard. And trust me, we struggle with that every day.
I would just add to that, if you want to get notices on things, you can sign up on our website for all the notices for every single meeting that the county has. It does go out to 3 distribution lists. It's posted on our website, and it does get put in the newspaper. And we do put them up on the bulletin boards in almost every single one of our buildings.
And we want as many people on that list as,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt you, Brianna.
No, but that's a really good suggestion that Brianna has. And like I say, we want you to know, I hate being in a meeting where there's 2 people sitting here and their staff. I want the public, because that's who we work for, is you guys.
John? Oh, so what are you
I
guys'
think
thoughts?
you have to close the public meeting, don't
Oh.
you?
Public meeting closed?
Go ahead, let Susie talk.
So oh, go ahead, Susie.
I totally, the fire thing, I'm okay with. I've talked about it this morning. You've, again, and insurance is a big thing that I think that this is a conversation. And I think we had a conversation one time where you were saying fire comes in too much in the back end. We need to get it in the front end, particularly with the situation in the West Coast today. I don't like any of the definitions. I'm really sorry, John, but I don't like any of them. I particularly don't like the definition of the kitchen. So I have no problem with the clarifications that we've made as far as county court goes to board of commissioners and all of those updates. But I do think, and with using that, I mean, we do try to get out to the public, but for some reason we're lacking. I think we need to go back and redo our Title 18, Section 18-08 definitions, particularly the one for occupancy and the other one for kitchen.
Brian?
So if we leave them as they are now, we'll live with the definitions until we get together, the planning department gets together, we make up a new approach at this and working in collaborative with the city. So it's more of a Crook County wide one.
Well, so if,
I'm super excited about working with the city. It sounds like they want to be more restrictive. I mean, I don't think we need to just follow them because they, I mean, when he says.
I'm not saying following them, I'm saying working collectively together for thoughts and processes of what would work best for the county.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, but I think we need to be our own body. If they want to be more restrictive, I don't think we should follow that lead.
I don't disagree.
So in the interim, there's still applications come through all the time. Our code still says what it says. It still says dwelling unit means 1 or more rooms in a building designed for occupancy by one family and having not more than 1 cooking facility. And so it's still my obligation to interpret that language faithfully and honestly until we have a code change. And so
I do believe that we do need some changes though, because I don't think there is clarity for people to understand and it makes confusion.
So we can work as quickly as we can to bring this back through to the Planning Commission. I do hope if we go through this process again, the public does come out and we hear from all sides and they're able to contribute. You won't find a bigger fan of public input in land use than myself. It's hard to get people motivated sometimes, and then it's hard to get them educated and it's hard to get them to contribute. And so perhaps we can work with administration to try some different form of promoting this so we get more of the county. We do everything on our website and newspaper notice. And like I said, when it's something that's non-legislative, we send out mailers. But perhaps if this is brought forth as kind of its own thing, maybe it will spur more interest because nobody really cares about changing county court to board of commissioners or a lot of these other housekeeping items we had in this one.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll put it out to the crowd. Or do you guys feel comfortable if we have a meeting in the next, month or so?
And so I guess
Docket is.
let me ask this there. So the planning commission made their recommendation. We went through the process on how to get an ordinance before you guys, and so the planning commission has made their recommendation. I don't know if we need to go back through the planning commission on this, or if we could have discussions, public discussions with you as the board of commissioners instead, trying to get that ordinance dialed in specifically for this definition provision.
I think it would be helpful to go back to the planning commission because it sounds like they have some questions on what they decided. And I think that's a really good location for that discussion. So I would say put it back to them. And then, we have people in this room, please sign up for that. I think Brad has shown that he can get a hold of people. So I would appreciate if you could do that again when there's a deeper conversation of what that looks like.
My intent is not trying to sell. I'm not part of the first conversation. It came about me in the thing, and I'll talk to Brianna about moving on the notification.
The other thing about the planning commission is now, I know you changed the planning commission to 4:00 for when Gary Bedortha and I were on it. Is it at 6:00 in the evenings now, or is it still at 4:00?
So 4 p.m., 4 to 7.
Okay, which also, I mean, people work. That's how we pay our bills. So that might also have more ease of public participation if you could go ahead and put it, just because I think sometimes with us as Board of Commissioners that we need to think about maybe alternating our meetings to go from 9 in the morning versus 6 at night, just because the majority of people, you have to, like I say, work, and that might give you more public participation just because of the timing.
I know that was before my time. I know that was a deliberate decision by the planning commission to set that 4 p.m. time, and we do run into issues on the other end of that as far as how late we are keeping the planning commission and the public here at these meetings that often run for multiple hours. And so we are going through our work plan, I think, at our next hearing, our planning commission hearing, and so perhaps something that's we could raise with them again to discuss.
Because I think at the time we said at 4 and 9 was the cap on it. Because like I say, we drove, and in the winter it was sometimes it was a little scary.
So you guys haven't made a motion yet, but the cleanest way would be, I think, in your motion to modify and approve ordinance 357. There's the language there in your script, but removing the amendments to chapter 1808 would be the cleanest way to pass the rest of the ordinance.
And that would remove anything on the structural definitions.
Correct. Those are all in chapter 1808.
Okay. And then can we remove that and then, I don't know, remand's the right word. I know that's a fancy word we use a lot in these meetings, but send back, remand or send back to the planning commission for them to look at it again.
Eric, would you want that in a separate motion or as part of the same motion?
So I would entertain the first motion.
I'll make a motion to pass ordinance 357 with the exception of withdrawing definitions 18.08.
I will second that motion.
Any discussion? And I've got some discussion. Does that cover what we would like to do today of removing the?
It covers removing it. I would need to add that. The housekeeping language here that's in your script is, and for staff to draft the final decision consistent with this decision to be signed out of a meeting. So wouldn't need to, I would need to go back and then amend the ordinance and let you guys sign it.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to sign out of meeting.
And I will second the amendment. Is your motion thing at the end of our packet here? Oh, right here. Never mind. Got her. Oh, you have it. Well, there we go. Here's the answer sheet. Okay. And I will second that amendment.
All right. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Hermrick, aye.
Crawford, aye.
Barney, aye.
Okay, and then I'd entertain a second motion.
Okay, so I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm not quite right on this motion, that I am going to move to remand to the planning commission Ordinance 357/file number 217-25-000323 planning for the following reasons, which would be to reevaluate the definitions as stated in chapter 18.08. That is a long motion.
That's a long motion. I'm sorry. I would need to add some words to that, I think, to make it more
No,
clear.
you
I'm sorry, Commissioner. So I would recommend saying moving to remand the portion of ordinance 347, that,
I
rest
accept,
such
I
a
accept
note.
that one word in there. I accept that amendment.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Hermrick, aye.
Crawford, aye.
Barney, aye.
Great. Thank you, public, for coming. We really do appreciate your input, and thank you, John, for your presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right. Managers report?
Thank you very much. And be sure to sign up, all of you.
We've been here a long time, so I'll keep this brief. I just want to commend John and his team for bringing some of these issues forward. I think they've been longstanding issues that we struggled with while I was in community development, and I think it's an important conversation. And I want to thank the public for identifying a number of issues that need to be further explored. So I think
if you're going to chat, can you go in the hallway, please? Thank you.
I certainly, as a former community development director, land use attorney, have my frustrations with the Oregon land use system, but think today was a demonstration of how that works, and hopefully it'll lead to a better result for Crook County. So I just want to thank everybody for their participation. And again, John, I don't know if you heard me, but I just want to thank John and his team for bringing that forward and starting the conversation. That's all I have.
Yeah, and I agree. Well, I appreciate John and the staff for working in that direction. And I do believe from all the problems and the code violations and things that we've had over the years that there definitely needs to be some new definitions so people understand what they can and cannot do and what's, what is specifically spelled out. Not here to try to, put more burden and more rules upon the citizens. I don't like those myself, but I do like to know what I can do and what is allowed. So there's no question.
Yeah, no, I hope to have a really good conversation at the planning commission and get more local or go more citizen input and hopefully turn out with a better product.
I just say thank you, John. I know this is frustrating, but thank you.
All right, commissioner reports, updates.
I don't think I can, other than tomorrow, Seth and I are going over to LeGrand to get educated about Eastern Oregon legislative legislation going forward into the short session. That's a tongue twister.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's about all I know. I'll know more on Friday. You can ask.
Ryan?
I don't have anything. I have an appointment at 1 in Bend, so I need to run.
I had one at 11:30.
Well, I guess I make a motion to.
Well, hold on. I just had a quick update.
Public.
Oh, yeah, we got to ask the public too. Hold on.
Public, we've been waiting.
So I've been working with Ben's office on the safe spaces and the Juniper Canyon additional route. They've been working it through the process and they're getting a lot of really positive feedback from the Senate and House leadership. And so Susie and I will be going back there. I'm going to work on getting some meetings with those folks. And through that process, I'd like to talk to some people in Juniper Canyon and get some specific things I can pass on to the federal government to explain why it's so important to get that second access as well as those safe spaces for Juniper Canyon. Public?
Good morning, Mike Irvin, Paulina Highway. Just a suggestion, on the agenda, the second thing out is consent agenda. I think I pretty well understand what that is, but would through a couple of cycles, could you explain that to folks as to what that is, what it represents, why it's being voted on without discussion? Because I'm hearing that we're voting on things and we don't even have, they don't discuss it, they don't just explain what it.
Just talk about how we've
Better
we've had conversations at work sessions.
Not everybody comes to work
Yeah, yeah.
sessions like you and understands, and I totally get it.
Yeah, we'll definitely add that to the mix. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good, Mr. Public.
And most of them are just housekeeping things. They're not big.
Yeah, like you heard about the Ready to Read grant last week and how it was 9,000 and we discussed we got a good proportion. But most of these people don't unless they went in and read their agenda packet.
Which, you know, and they don't understand it. So they're talking about things that really aren't true and that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he's disagreeing with us. He's
No,
giving us a heads up.
I totally agree. I
That
totally
it would
get
be
what
helpful
you're
to give more information.
It's their perception
Yeah.
of what's going on, because perception is truth for them, when
Sure
it's
is.
really not. You know what? I mean?
No, I get it, Mike. You did
Okay.
good, Mr. Public. Another.
You got another public for us?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You gotta come up and you
Virtually
gotta
unlimited.
give your name and we need your address again so we can hunt you down.
Brad Wilson, 2645 Southeast Kennedy Road. I want to thank the commissioners today for the meeting and the opportunity to consider this. I know it's a tough issue. I understand that the county is trying to work through this, but I really hope that now that there's some knowledge from the public that we can all work together to come to a conclusion. Secondly, Commissioner Crawford, if you want to talk to someone that lives up Juniper Canyon, there would be no better person than the electricity provider that is in that area as well to give you some perspective on the second point of access.
That would be awesome. Maybe even a letter.
We could probably give you a letter in terms of
Okay, huge. That would be really helpful.
Okay, thank you. You guys have a great.
Will you write down your cell phone number? I know you got it. Okay. I'll reach out to you. That I would really appreciate that.
Thank you. Have a great.
Thank you. Oh, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Hermic, aye.
Crawford, aye.